Well, a very good afternoon to all of you. I'm not sure, I guess a few more people are supposed to come in. That's as per the original registrations that I see. So I'll probably just wait for another couple of minutes before we get started. There is a link on the chat that I had actually posted. So for you to keep track of the whole training exercise, it would be useful if you could actually use that link. Let me know if you have received that link.
Excuse me.
Yep.
What link is this you're talking about?
Sorry.
Is it in the chat? Is this link in the chat?
Yes. Okay. I'll just probably put it in the chat again. I guess it was put up earlier. Just give me a second. Okay, I've just shared it again. So you can just keep this running on the side just for a reference. You can always use this for future references as well, just in case you're not able to cope up somewhere down the line. Like in case you're not able to cope up and you miss out some points, you can always go back to the slides to catch up. But feel free to always ask me if you have any questions. I'll be more than glad to share it. So I'll give it another minute before I get started, because I see that we are 20 at the moment. I guess another 4 or 5 more to come in. All right. A very good afternoon to all of you. This is Mohammed Shamal from Orange Cloud. Well, I head the sales for the global sales for enterprise mobility solutions for Orange Cloud, but I am actually taking on the role of a trainer for the session, basically for 2 reasons. One is I want to make sure that we drive the message loud and clear to all the cohorts here who are to attend this particular training, so they get the right message and they can actually make use of this opportunity to look at opportunities for a better career in the long run, as well as for those budding entrepreneurs out there. This would serve a good start. Thanks to your university, who have given you this opportunity to make the most out of a technology that's fast catching up. So let me get started. Before we really get moving, a few rules, not exactly rules, maybe some guidelines, so that we can have this entire training exercise, work out quite easily, so that there's no confusion. Feel free to use the chat. Ask your questions. You might ask your questions either through chat, or you can ask me to pause at any point and raise your use the mic to ask your questions. If there are certain questions that needs to be answered a little later, then I'll come back to you. I have shared the slides for today's session on the chat box, so feel free to use that on the sides, so that you can actually catch up. In case you are slow, you can always catch up. Okay, so I guess we can get started. So today's session is basically happening thanks to your team in IUMW. Mr. Alex has been liaising with me, and as well as your team, Thanks to them for giving me this opportunity to showcase a new up and coming trend in terms of enterprise application development. So Orange Cloud is a platform as a service provider. We have our own intellectual property product, which is a no-code cross-platform mobile applications development platform that uses absolutely no coding whatsoever. So for those who are, like serious programmers, you're looking at one. I was a developer at one stage of my life. Like I used to focus on Java. But having said that, like the trend at which things are going today, you need to keep pace with the trend rather than, go towards only your passion, which is like hard-coded programming. Because what the industry needs is develop things fast and, roll it out as fast as possible. Because if you don't do that, then you're out of, you don't have, you're missing opportunities. So you don't want that situation. And for those who are not really, into learning programming languages, this is also another interesting area to explore, where you don't need to use any programming language per se, but yet you can develop some very powerful enterprise mobile applications, and that can actually serve most of the businesses. Now, why I keep stressing on businesses is because this no-code platform is not meant for gaming applications. This platform is more for where the big money is when it comes to enterprise mobile application development. So our focus is everyone sitting here will be looking at a future career, and I'm sure like you will be either going towards a 9-to-5 job or maybe starting something on your own after your graduation. Somewhere down the line, you will be dealing with transactions where there's buying and selling into organizations where there's some sort of business processes. So you do need to have at least some understanding of how businesses work, and you might be playing a role of a developer or whatever be the case. You're going to be part of an organization or part of the ecosystem that has business processes in place. Like it can be a sales related job, it can be a technical development job, or anything for that matter. But everywhere down the line, businesses are made, money is, your salaries are paid only if there's business, when these business processes are all in place. So having said that, with a little bit of introduction, what we are going to focus today is part of actually the actual foundation training, which is supposedly to be 2 days. When I say 2 days, it's actually supposed to be a 6-hour program that's 2 days. But for a start, I would like to, draw some interest, like give you some sort of an introduction. So that will show you like, okay, whether you are in the right track, whether this is something that's going to be feasible for you. And this will also help you to decide to actually pursue the remaining training programs that we have actually scheduled for you. So let me just go through the agenda for today. So what we'll be looking at is, we're going to just explore very quickly the world of mobile application development. Some of you might already be there. Some of you are just somewhere looking at it. But this is what you probably would need to know before you get started. Then we'll also look at the eMOBIQ side, which is like the low code and no code application development platforms. Then we're going to see how we actually are going to develop our first mobile application. So before you start developing a mobile application, there really needs to be some sort of a checklist to understand where you're heading to when you start developing an app. So right from designing the wireframes and the process flow, designing the data structures, like basically your app is going to contain some data. It can be, customer information. It can be some quantity. It can be some pictures. It can be anything that's relevant to data. So you need to know where to actually store this data and basically know how to design the structure of how this data is being held. And also, very importantly, the most important aspect of any mobile application that is being developed is how it could actually integrate with data that's on the back end. So when I talk about back-end data, it's got to do with, I'm sure all of you would have probably come across something called Enterprise Resource Planning, or ERP, application software. You have CRM, like customer relationship management software, that holds all the data that's required for enterprises and for customers as such. So how the mobile app actually can integrate with backends is another crucial aspect. So we'll get a feel of how to actually do that. And then we'll be going about designing, building the pages as we develop, because mobile apps are all about building different pages, designing it. And then, of course, navigating between the pages, adding a little bit of functions, like some meat with functions and logic, and then also learning how to debug the application. And of course, review your work. So you don't need to actually finish everything and then see how the product looks like, the application looks like. You can actually preview things on the fly, which means it's easier, much more easier for you to debug. And then, of course, you can also end up compiling it for Android or for an for an iOS application. So you'll see how to publish it, and then the concept of putting it out into stores. So you start off with the private stores that's provided by eMOBIQ, which is the eMOBIQ stores. And then, of course, if you do have Google accounts, Google Store accounts or Apple Store accounts, you can always, Apple has got certain restrictions, so you need to follow their criteria, which is much stricter. But you can always put it out on Google stores, the apps that you build. Of course, at a price, you need to subscribe for a Google account. And then, of course, we will also see how to actually develop a full-fledged app end of the day. And we'll see how it goes from there. So if you have any questions, feel free to keep checking out with me. I'll be more than happy to take down your questions and answer them accordingly. Before I start the process, this is what I'm responsible for training as well. So this is the philosophy that I apply. You want to learn something new, you need to look at how it's being done. Then you probably do it along with the person who's showing you how to do it. And then if you try it out yourself, all by yourself. So there's a consolidation of your learning. So the more you repeat this kind of processes, the fluency with which you'll be able to move around later will be much easier. So in other words, whenever I show you something on the screen, like when I start using the eMOBIQ platform, it'll always be, I probably might not repeat this, but it'll always be, I do. So while I do, you observe. Don't do it along with me because you can get lost. Once I finish, we'll do it together. So after I do, it's we do. And then once you have done it with me, probably I'll give you some tasks, you do it yourself. and then see how it works. So I hope that's clear, so we don't have any confusions. Like I said, you can always use the slides for any sort of references. So a little bit of history on what enterprise, what mobile application development is all about. So just to understand some of the core concepts, like when it comes to mobile application development, and a slight differentiation of what is native, what is hybrid, and what is a progressive web app. So if you get some understanding of where these three are, then you'll understand how much you can leverage from a no-code application development platform that has both the native as well as the concepts of what progressive web apps and the likes take. So we call it a hybrid application. So what eMOBIQ would be focusing on is more of a hybrid application, but with all the native device functionalities included. And why is it that we are talking about, I mean, why are we even here? Because it's all about how fast people need their applications out. So if you're talking about mobile applications, the growth, whether you're in the right space, 70% of mobile apps for business is going to be involved without an IT department, which means today, if you are an IT developer, you'll have other things to take care of in a corporate or in a business environment. So you're not going to sit and develop mobile applications or enterprise applications. That will not be your focus. You'll be more focused on other things like compliance, risk management, and the likes, IT audits. Those are some of those areas that you'll be probably looking at. But development, as far as, like suddenly a manager comes up to one of the IT developers and says, like, I want this particular department for I want this particular app for my department. It's not going to be a priority for the IT manager or developer. So because of this, what happens is all these apps that workers, like, users who want these kind of apps, they have to keep waiting for these apps to be developed by their IT team. Now, what happens is, usually, and as an enterprise, you'll probably be looking at, maybe have about like 10 apps a year, 10 applications developed a year. What is happening now is only 2 out of 8 applications are being actually rolled out. Why? Because IT is busy. IT has got other works. So because of this, there's a big backlog of IT application development, which companies are not interested. Because native developers are always slower in terms of development. Because one, they'll need to know the programming language. They'll need to have sufficient experience working on different projects, even if they are well versed in their programming language. And it's not easy to write, like 10,000 lines of code. Although today we just copy and paste, but still you need to know where the code has to go. So you need to go line by line to make sure that it's in place. So it's not easy to develop those 10,000 lines of code for a simple application. And sometimes, you also have this problem that whenever a company or business needs a new technology, then you don't have the right resources. You don't have the right skill sets to actually do these so-called applications. So that causes a little bit of congestion. So I'm just going to compare very quickly. Let me assure you that my statistics related, theory is going to be lasting for just another 10 minutes. So we'll get on with the practical part of it, but please hold on till then. So I'm just going to quickly share comparison between native being a native developer and being an eMOBIQ developer. eMOBIQ falls under the low-code application development platforms, although it's no code, because no code is a small portion of low code community. So in programming, you have some core concepts. Like one is the programming language itself, then the platform on which these work, the speed of development, the speed of the application, then the portability. Like when you develop an application, you should make sure that it works across different platforms. The graphics, like you always like to have a Lazada kind of app. Okay, why I chose Lazada was just off the cuff. I was just looking at Lazada application a while ago, so it just came off. Then you should also make sure that your app is having all the device functions that can be used, like access to all the native APIs. And of course, the most important of all is how much are you spending for developing applications. So when you look at this, between the two, I'll leave this for you to read and compare. But just to let you know that when it comes to the two difference, you'll notice that in platforms, we are talking about multiple platforms under eMOBIQ, which means you just need to build one application and you can deploy it at the same time to both Android, iOS, and probably the web. Whereas if you're a native developer, you'll be good at Android, you'll stick to Android, and when you develop an application, that application will just sit for an Android platform. And if you want to deploy that onto an iOS platform, then you need to get another developer who develops the same application for an iOS. So you need two sets of resources for two applications, which is totally eradicated if you are a no-code application development developer who can do cross-platform, meaning build once and deploy across multiple. So in terms of that's very crucial. So this is just a comparison, because we also have, besides native, we also have hybrid like eMOBIQ. And of course, we also have progressive web apps, like apps that are focused, for web, which is which can be actually viewed on the web. So you'll see a lot of these government or banking applications all done where you can actually access, login, everything on the web, and you can access your data, all that. Like when you enter your user ID, password, you can actually get that application to communicate with the backend and the works. So those are slightly different. So just to let you, I'll again let you read this for comparison, because I don't want to bore you. But just a few things in terms of code reusability. If you look at code reusability, for native, you need to write twice. Whereas for hybrid, you just need to build once, and the same code can be reused across different platforms. Same goes with PWA. But if you look at the native device functionalities, like tapping into the native device, like you have a mobile device with a camera, with file systems, with a date, and you have the GPS and all those inbuilt features. Now, if you're doing it from a native, yes, you're much closer to the device. If you're doing it with hybrid, it's slightly low, because native will still need, hybrid still, although it will tap into the native device functionalities, but it will be something like there'll be a lot of translators in between. And with a progressive web app, the chances you can't use a camera for a progressive web app. It's not possible, because it's on the web. So the device is not the mobile device, it's on the web. So you'll probably be seeing that on your laptop in a browser setting. So these are some of the initial comparisons for you to judge. So let's get quickly started with the concept of moving towards a platform that allows you to write or to use less code, handwritten code. Why? Because today, like what I said, enterprise mobility market is growing. It's growing tremendously, and it goes to a point where 65% of enterprise applications that are going to be developed by 2024 are going to be on platforms like eMOBIQ. So that clearly shows that the money or the job opportunities are all going to be more towards such platforms for development, rather than relying purely on programming skills. Now, very quickly, I would like to add those developers, or for those who want to become serious software developers, please take it from me that you are safe. It's not like you're going to be disrupted, like your jobs are going to get disrupted because of this. But you can always use this as an add-on to speed up your entire process. Now, I'll give you an example. You might probably take like about 6 months to develop an enterprise application, whereas with probably a no-code development platform, you would probably just do it in half the time, or even like 1/4 of the time. So that's the speed at which you can actually develop these. So you can always use certain aspects of the development on no code and certain aspects on your native, which is your forte, and you can combine it creating prototypes, which will be good to showcase and like sell the product, like only get acceptance from the consumers. So that's one way of looking at it. So what are the challenges that businesses face today? Like businesses that are growing or planning to grow, they always have this, some of the brick and mortar businesses. Like I have a lot of, I'm based out of Singapore. So I have a lot of these small and medium companies, enterprises, still prefer the traditional way of doing business. They still like to have like less technology, and they still prefer to like open up their books and refer to information rather than using a mobile phone, or like. But having said that, there are the governments worldwide are trying to get people to start moving towards digitalization, but still there are some challenges. For companies who have not really pushed towards digitalization, we have seen some of the companies go bust. Like a classic example that comes to my mind is Nokia. I'm not sure how many of you have actually used the Nokia phone, but I still feel that Nokia phones were the best, during our times. This was back in the 17th century. But the Nokia phone never used to die out of battery. You could throw the Nokia phone down a few hundred times and nothing happened. So, but what really happened, and when the Nokia phone was doing absolutely, like it was just blooming like nobody's business. Things like iPhone and all were not even in the market. But what has happened is digital transformation was not part of the Nokia management strategy. So when the CEO finally said that we are closing down, and his only words were that we should have been, we don't know what really happened. We should have probably gone digital, unlike our competitors. So that was the end of the Nokia story. So we don't want that kind of situation. So companies are forced to actually, go towards digitalization, because it's all about faster software delivery, lower maintenance, better user experience, making sure that these applications run on multiple platforms and can be integrated to different backends. Then, of course, as a native developer, you'll always have some of these challenges, like you'll not have the right resources. People with the skill sets of Android and iOS are not always available. Then the developer might not know the legacy systems. Like, you know, he joins a company, he might not know the backend or the legacy system as such. So it's a bit of a challenge for him to write applications according to the business processes of that company. So these are some of the challenges. And of course, more project delays. That's one of the biggest challenges for application development. So if you don't go to the markets fast, you have issues which will lead to more costs in projects. So the best way to drive this is to move towards DevOps, agile ways. So when I say DevOps, this is a term that's catching up fast. So maybe you should take note. DevOps and SecOps. DevOps is something like you have a business with having some requirement. So the developer works with the business. As soon as the business has got a requirement, the developer straight away starts developing to that requirement. So that's the DevOps methodology. And then, of course, you go into smarter ways by going to using agile methodologies. When I say agile, that means you're trying to use simplify resources. You're trying to simplify processes. So you're working much smarter, so to speed up the whole process. So coming to the eMOBIQ platform itself, we are actually in the process of allowing you to create. Now, as I speak, this portion of the product is still under R&D, and we are just about to release it very soon. But you can actually develop mobile apps which are React Native with no code. What I mean is, you would have seen the Facebook kind of apps with the user interface and the like. So very soon you'll be able to develop those kind of applications with touch user interfaces and UI, what they call it, the UI UX capabilities. And it will be more React Native, which is one step closer to become an actual native application. So that means in very short time from now, we are actually trying to say that you can start working like a native developer, which is the best option. But you can use eMOBIQ to do that with no code. So in other words, you can start developing React Native, then very soon native itself, using eMOBIQ with no code. So that's where we are heading towards, and it will be a real disruptor for development. So a quick introduction on the platform itself, just a very quick introduction. Like what I said, no code whatsoever. It's all drag and drop. You can integrate to backends very easily with some ready-made connectors. You have one development interface. I'll be showing that in a while, where you can design, you can develop, you can debug, you can preview, you can compile, you can build, and you can publish the apps all in one user interface, in one development interface. It's all possible. The eMOBIQ platform supports all the native device functionalities, and it also is a cloud-based platform, so you don't need to download any software like the Android Studio, for example, or the Visual Studio onto your devices and work. So you can actually, as long as you have the internet, you can just use the browser. Chrome is preferred. So let me just repeat that. Chrome is the preferred because it's the most widely used browser. And you can actually get started working with the eMOBIQ application software. And of course, you have options to generate your code either in a Cordova framework, which is currently being used, which is an open source framework. And of course, very soon, like what I was telling you, you can also generate React Native outputs. So having said that, let's just get quickly started with the eMOBIQ platform itself. So if you do have any questions, maybe you want to just raise it before I start. If there are no questions, then I'll get started.
Sir, excuse me.
Yep.
You said you use Google Chrome, right?
Yes.
So using Google Chrome, we won't, that means memang the Android Studio becomes irrelevant.
Come again, sorry, can you just run that?
Does that mean using Android Studio to make an application, would it become irrelevant when we use non-coding?
Okay, good question. Just a quick reassurance. This is definitely something that's going to disrupt the development world. But having said that, there's nothing like developing an application using native modes of development, because native, it's something like you're talking to somebody that is the device in its near language, it's a language that it can understand straight away, right? So there's no big translation or compilation that takes place. So you can talk to the firmware of the device. All that is, the best is to do it with native, like you learn it from the source, you interact with the source, right? But when you're talking about speed, when you're talking about compatibility and things like that, these are technologies. See, always remember one thing: whenever there is a disruption, like you had Uber, till then people were driving taxis, and we used to wait for hours to get a taxi and stuff like that. When Uber came in, there was a disruption. Now, why is there a disruption? Always remember that there is a disruption because status quo, that is, those who are providing whatever they're providing are not providing it fast enough or good enough. So there is automatically one of the people who gets affected. He decides like, hey, let me just probably do something so that I can improve this process or improve this situation. That's when you get Uber related, like technologies that come up. The same goes with development. When it comes to speed of development, people need everything fast. Everything needs to be done fast. If you're not fast enough, you're not relevant. That's simple as it. It's coming to that stage. So having said that, if some company or some consumer needs an application done fast, and they're not worried about few things, like they're not worried about security. Like security is not a major threat for them. When you talk about security, that's a different story altogether, because even with security, you have banks that get hacked all the time. So some companies don't really lay stress on security, so they don't mind using tools that really don't focus too much on security. The basic security features are there, but you don't really go into the what native development does. So these are advantages of native development. You have the interaction going closer towards the firmware, plus the security. Those features and areas are taken care of. So companies who are still looking at such things will still prefer to go the native way, whatever be the changes in technology. You get my point? So you can't say that it's irrelevant to throw away Android Studio because you have a no-code platform that's coming up. Do you get the gist of what I'm trying to address?
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah. So this will be what I would say, or look at it from what GitHub. I don't know whether you heard about GitHub. This is where the entire chunk of, if you're developers, you should be in GitHub. GitHub. So the GitHub CEO had actually said the future of coding is no code. So, well, GitHub itself is talking about, this kind of change. But having said all this, you can't take away the best ingredients of developing something from scratch using handwritten code. in its language, in its nativity. So that one, you can't beat it, whatever be the technology that comes through. Yeah. So have I answered that question? Have I answered your question?
Yeah, you have.
Okay. So can I continue?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, awesome. So just a quick understanding of which will be a safe, I mean, where you'll be safe with regards to learning development with no code is, it's preferred to have some knowledge of HTML. You know, you don't need to be a HTML expert. You don't need to be a CSS or a JSON expert, but some knowledge of all these is appreciated because it will allow you to understand where the relevance is, you know. So that's, of course, you can always refer to this www.w3schools.com if whenever you have any questions on CSS and the likes. Okay, so like what I said in the beginning, I just want to quickly say, it's always going to be I do, then I will pause and say, okay, let's do it together. Then you try, and then I'll say, okay, now you try it out. I'll give you some time, then you try it out. So please don't do it when I'm doing it, because sometimes you might get stuck somewhere, and then, you know, it can cause a bit of disruption in the training. So we get started with eMOBIQ by accessing eMOBIQ from the browser. So I'm just going to quickly go through. So the link that I've already shared on your email is this, training.emobiq.com. Then you have already been provided with user IDs and passwords. I have my colleague who is actually, you know, he's part of the, I mean, eMOBIQ is one of his babies. So he was also responsible for developing this. You must be wondering, why is he not training and why am I training? Because I just wanted to give it a shot on this training. But he's there. Aris is in the call as well. So he has tested out all the user IDs and passwords. But if at all anyone has got issues accessing, please make sure your case sensitive is taken into account. All the user IDs and passwords are case sensitive. So when you log in with all your user ID and password, you'll be getting this kind of a screen, which is the dashboard, where you'll see your applications that if you had developed. Well, if you're coming into the training program, that is after today's session, when you join the actual training program, you will see that you'll be having a training application cloned to you for reference. So we will be trying to populate it with more training applications so that you can always use that when you develop. But for now, today, maybe you might not see anything. You'll just see a blank screen with no applications there. On the screen, you also be able to see your e-store. That is all the applications that is published on the e-store so far. And the notification center is regarding the platform. Like if there's any changes to the platform, if there's any enhancements, those notifications will be displayed there. You can develop in eMOBIQ with wizards, but that's not the only way, because wizards have got their limitations on if you want to enhance it further. But you can always speed up your process using wizards wherever possible. So there are two types of wizards. One is which works on the pages, it's called a page wizard, and one is a function wizard. Now, you will get used to these kind of terms and the environment when you keep practicing, when you keep repeating it, then it will become a normal thing for you. For the time being, you just absorb whatever I say. So you also have an option, like besides using wizards, you also have an option because, you know, you just can't be just working on wizards all the time, like what I said. You might want to enhance it further. So you need to build a logic. So when I say logic, it's all about the human brain trying to figure out how to do this, whether you have to do like this, whether you have to do like this. If you do like this, what happens? If you click this button, what happens? You know, those are the ways you develop logic. So That logic is also supported with some functions. So those functions are all listed on the left-hand side. There are a few hundred functions. You don't need to learn all of them. Like you'll be just using some very commonly used functions all along. And you'll be able to see your logic built in a visual format in the form of a flow diagram. Plus, you'll also see the actual screen preview on the right-hand side there. So when you build your logic, you'll be able to navigate between the design screen, which is on the right-hand side, and the logic, the visual logic screen. And the older version of this visual logic used something called a logical block. When you want to build your logic, you can always build it with this logical block. Don't worry, it's all going to be shared with you. So there are some videos. You can feel free to actually view these videos on how to use these. So I'll not be going into that at this point. If you click on this, you have a video that shows how to use the page and function wizards, and also the visual logic, the logical block. So these are all in action being displayed. Then these are all references for you to see, get used to this different screens and the icons it's there. I'm not going to go into details, but what I would like you to understand here is page design is something which you would always want to be in. When you start developing an app in eMOBIQ, you need to be always in the page design screen. So please take note of that. Like this is, I'll show it to you on the screen, but for the time being, you just remember. And at any point, you also need to make sure that your first starting page will be your home page. So to set your home page, you need to go to the global attributes and set your whole home page. So I'll be showing that when I get started. So these are some of the things that you need to know, particularly the page design and the global attributes portion for setting up your home page. And then, of course, if you want to switch to like you want to use the visual logic screen, you have this icon with a tree kind of setting. So you have that. Then the rest are all self-explanatory. Well, like as I said, while we go along, we will be seeing what is commonly used. So I'm going to just leave it to you to read these. So yes, this is important. Always remember, nothing happens without an event. Now, what is an event? An event is usually triggered with probably a click of a button or a tap of a key, or probably a loading of a page, or maybe scrolling up and down, or pressing a button with a finger. So these are all events that are triggered with certain actions. And when an event is triggered, you'll have to activate certain functions. Like when I click a button, I'm supposed to go to another page, something like that. So clicking a button is an event, and go to page is a function, So that's just an example of sharing with you. So you, like what I said, you have two types of building your business logic. Your logic can be built with visual logic. I'll be focusing more on visual logic. Logical blocks was the older version, so it's still there. So when you start building an application, you click on create a new application. You type the application name, then you start, you give a description, and then you say create. You start creating an application. Then in terms of setting up a global attribute, now, like for example, I want to change the home page. I have about 5 pages that I have built, and I want the first page to be my home page. That is the very first page to be my home page. So where do I change it? I always go to a global attribute portion. You saw the icon that allows you to go to global attributes. You go to global attributes. It's pointed here, if you may notice at the bottom. There's a setting option there, and then you just change the name of the page that should be the first page. So that's how you set up a first page as your home page. Not to worry, I'm going to share this by showing it to you, then we try together and you try alone by yourself. Setting up the connectors, like if you want to connect to a backend, these are the ways you set up the connectors. There are so many connectors that you can connect to, which we'll be going through. And always remember, whenever eMOBIQ connects with an external reference, it's always through an API call, application program interface call, or web services. So the standard APIs that are used are SOAP and RESTful. These are standard APIs. If you're a web developer, you'll understand this. But always remember, if I want to shake hands with somebody, I need to stretch out my hand. So my hand would be something like an API call, you know, and so you have two ways to handle that. Either you handle that with SOAP or RESTful. These are the two available standard APIs that's being used. Then you create a wizard. Well, you can always come back to this when you want to refer, but I will be showing it to you in a while. I'm just running through all this very quickly. So please use this as a reference at any point. Okay, and this is what we are going to do for a start. We're going to try and finish the assignment that it is, which is shown here. So I'm going to have like basically, okay, before we get started, I said you need to have a checklist. So what is it that you're going to build? You're going to build 3 pages. So my first page is going to show my university logo with due respect and permission. I'm just using this for demo purpose. So I'm just using your university logo, and the university logo with my initial screen will be my welcome screen. And then of course, the screen is actually taken from a template. So I just changed the images and the likes. I'll be showing it to you in a while. And my second page would be something like about us, like about the university. So I've just used the image of the university cap. Is that the university cap? And then I've included a video. And then of course, I've included a button. And when I click next page, it will go to a next page, which will be talking about who am I. So I'll be having my picture there. And of course, a welcome message with maybe an audio, you know, like just welcoming me. The user of this app will be seeing, will be hearing the audio message of this person's welcome. So this is my initial task that what we're going to build on. So I'm going to use this as an example to do the task and cover all those things that were shown before. I'm going to take a pause here and switch screens. So just hold on for a while, please. Let me know if you can see my screen. So this is the portion where it's going to be I do. So this is being recorded. So you can always view the recording as well. And you want to hear my boring voice, you can still feel free to hear that at the end. I'll be sharing it. Let me know if you can see my eMOBIQ screen. Can everyone see my eMOBIQ screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, so what I've done here is I've used that initial link that was given to you on your email. And okay, for my demonstration purpose, I'm using a different link. I'm using another link, but it's the same, like basically it's just for the demo purpose. So I have, the moment I sign in with my user ID and password, I am on this screen. So I open my my Chrome browser and I type that, I use that link to get into this screen with the user ID and password. Then I just come to this screen. So what I would like you to do is, I'm going to do this again for your benefit. So you use training eMOBIQ.com and you log in. So you should be able to see this screen. So can we do it together now? Because this is just a very simple step. So I just skipped my part. So I'm just going to do it together with you. In my case, it's beta.eMOBIQ.com. So you use your training.eMOBIQ.com and press enter. You log into this screen with your user credentials. So once you type your user ID and password, like what I have done here, I just submit and I'm able to go into my first screen. So let me know if you're successful then. If anyone has got issues with the password not working or anything like that, please check your case sensitivity. I think it's all small caps. I mean, small letters, all lowercase. So everything should be in lowercase as per what was given to you in your email. So if you can, please check your email with your user ID and passwords. If you have not been successful, please type your messages here so that we know that you are not successful, and I can get my colleague Aris to help you out. I'm just going to give you a minute, or maybe less than that, because it's just a straightforward thing where you just open your browser. Invalid. Halida, have you made sure that your user ID is your user ID as given in the, it's not the email address. I think it's only the user ID and the password.
Yes, sir. I already follow it.
And it still gives you invalid credentials?
Yes.
Okay, Aris, can you check? Halida, please hold on. Let Aris check. Halida, it's there in the email, Aris. I guess the rest are all okay, excepting for Halida.
Yeah, I can access the training site.
Okay, awesome. If you're not able to, please let us know immediately so that we get this sorted out before we get started. Okay, Aris, Halida has shared her email address. So, Halida, if you don't mind, let me just continue.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Aris, can you just guide her till where I am while I continue? You create the user ID and password for her. Yeah, thanks. Okay, awesome. So this is the screen. Now I'm going to do the we do part, the I do part. So please observe. So this is my screen, which will have the dashboard. You'll see all the applications that I've sorry, all the applications that I've created. So I have so many applications that I've created. Don't worry, these are all that I have done for the last few years. So you will see so many there. I also have, besides my applications, I also have an e-store at the top right portion. This is the eMOBIQ store. So the eMOBIQ store is a private store for public use. Like those accounts, eMOBIQ accounts can actually publish their apps and get people to download it from here. So let's assume that one of you decides all the students of IUMW have been given access to eMOBIQ for a year, which means you will be able to use the eMOBIQ platform for 1 year, and you'll be able to build as many applications as possible. And basically make full use of this particular application platform. So you, in case you see any of these apps, for example, you can actually download. I'm just giving an example. So you can actually click on that, and let's say, for example, you want to download, you have an Android phone, so you can just click on this. You can download it for either Android or iOS. I mean, don't do it now because each of these applications would be probably locked with user IDs and passwords. But just in case tomorrow you use to publish your application, you can actually get people to download it from here, or they can use the store link or the application link QR code to scan and get the application. So you can always view these stores from the e-store. At any point, you can always come back to home or my application for that matter. So you come back here. Well, like as I said, in your case, you can probably just try going to the stores to see for yourself the different apps that are there. So you can click on, so let's do it together. So you can click on eStore and you get to see all the apps that are already published and put out on these stores. So in case you just want to, for the sake of record, you just want to see an app, you can always click on the app, and the app that was developed by the developer's name, when it was created, the version, and you can always, in case you have friends, developer friends, you can always share this app on different social media like Twitter, Facebook, Google. You can also download this app by clicking on the download. I mean, don't download now because it doesn't make sense. You might not have the user ID and password, but later when you publish your app, you can always download it from there.
Sure.
Now the question is, I know some of you will be raring to ask this question. How do I put it on Google, Apple stores? Well, you just need to have a Google user account. I mean, you need to have a Google account and Apple account for that. So all you have to do is you will be able to get this the IPA, which is for Android, which is for iOS, IPA, and the APK for Android. These are the object files that can be uploaded onto the relevant Google and Apple stores. It's asking for a password when you okay, so I guess, okay, maybe for those who are looking at the eMOBIQ stores and asking and being prompted for password, well, I believe we'll probably have to set your accounts to ensure that you also have access to a few other public applications, because my account is like an admin account, so I have access. But maybe you're just to let you know that your app is safe. So let's say you develop an app for XYZ company. You don't want everybody to see the app, so you need to have the right credentials. That's why it's asking for the user ID and password. So for the time being, just take it like you don't have access to that particular thing. But when you create your own, you can access your applications. I hope I've got that clear. Okay, so let's get back to the application. Let's go back to the I do part, where I'm going to create an application, and I'm going to try and complete assignment number 1. So Aris, can you check for the card? The card's account is also not working. So can you just check, please? Yeah. Aris, just keep a track on the chats for the accounts, so I can continue. Okay, so I'm going to do it once, and I will ask you to redo it. I mean, repeat with me again. So I'm going to create an application. So it's very simple. Just create application. Create application. I need to use my, I need to give a name for the application that will be stored on the eMOBIQ stores or Apple stores later when you put it up. So I just give a name. So I'm just going to give probably this date, 26/05 or 26 May 21. So that will be the name of my application, and I'll just call it a sample. The description that I'm going to give is a sample application for task 1. I just click create. So the moment I click create, I am now presented with the page design. If you may remember, I was insisting on you to remember this. This is the page design screen on which you have the entire workspace, given to you. So this is a very useful screen. So at any point you want to come back to the screen, please remember, you'll have to just click on page design. If you notice my mouse, it's pointing here. Now, I would like to quickly add a few things. For those who might not see the same screen as me because of your windows or your screen resolutions. So in case you don't see what you're seeing, maybe just change your screen resolution so that everything is fitted accordingly. This is because of the screen size and the screen resolutions. You might not be able to see everything. So I have designed, I have this as my current screen resolution. So on this screen, I see logo, which is a default logo of the app, which is the eMOBIQ logo. I can always change this later. I also have the name of the app, the version, and I'm just quickly going to run through, not going to spend too much of time boring you with theory, but I'm just quickly going to run through a few of these icons for you to understand. I'll be mostly focusing on those which are more relevant. So the home is where we came from, the very starting screen where we saw all the applications. This is the home screen. And this is the page design screen, which is where we are now. And at any point you want to switch to the screen. If you want to get to the screen and start building your app, you have to come back to the screen. And this is the services, like when you want to connect to backend and other databases, you will have to go to the services. So for now, we'll not see, I'll just show you when I click on services. So these are all the connectors that are available. And you also see a few very popular ERP connectors like SAP, Microsoft, Acumatica, Sage, and some payment gateways. Then you have MS SQL connector and the likes. Then you have a PayPal connector, Firebase connector for push notifications and things like that. So you have quite a range of connectors. Plus, you also have the option to use a SOAP or a RESTful API, connector with a free connector that's called a raw call. So this is the one that I'm talking about. So this is the connector when you want to connect to any open source. So I'll be sharing with you in a few minutes on how to do that. So let me just go on with my introductory screen. So I'll come back to the page design. I click here, comes back to the screen. Then I have databases. So in case you want to start working with databases, you have the option. This is the local and the staging databases. So we have like eMOBIQ's own staging data, and you also have dynamic DB. If you have an account, you can actually access the DynamoDB database. You must be wondering why we're using this. Well, let's assume that you want to store something locally. There are certain times when you build apps, you want to store the data on your device, or you want to store the data somewhere. So you can always use, you can park your data in a temporary storage, or maybe for temporary purpose, you can store it in a staging database or a table. That's one option. And this can be useful when you create, applications. So the next screen is the language settings. So you have options, like you might be a person, maybe from some remote corner of the world, and you want to sell your mobile application using the local language. So you have options to make this application multilingual. So you can actually add new languages, and with translations, you can actually have a multilingual app. So that's possible. Then you have the next one is the event flow. So the event flow is where I was talking about the visual logic. So I'll be sharing that in a while. So let me not go into that now. So this is where the visual logic will appear. So for the time being, I have nothing there. So I'm not able to see anything. I mean, I don't have any app page or any component. So I don't see anything here for the time being. Then you have the help. Well, the help is another way of you getting help in case you're stuck, besides what we are sharing in terms of the slides. You always have the option to choose help. So I'll give you an example, like if you have some kind of a help that's related to, let's say, info dialog box. You want a dialog box and you don't know how to use it. So when you click on the particular help option, it will describe the help, the item that you want to help. It will also show you what are the kind of parameters that's being used for that function. And it will also show you maybe a use case. So here is a use case. And there are some help with videos. So you can actually click on the videos to see it. But there are some without videos. So you might need to refer to other help sources, like either a finished app where you see the same application option. I see a few chats. Okay, it's got everyone started. So let's, I mean, I'm not going to allow you to start anything yet, because I'm going to show you a very simple start. I'm coming back to the page design. And I know that, okay, I've already got my checklist. I know I'm going to have 3 pages. One is a starting page with the university logo. And then I'm going to have another page which shows the university cap, one of the caps that's used by the university. I mean, for advertisement, for marketing purpose. And a video of the university plus a button. So just to let you know, this is the second page. And the third page will be a who am I page. So I'm going to get started. So I'm going to create the first page, and then we will do it together. So I have templates, I have components. So these are all the things that will go on to the pages. So for components, you have different types of components. And when I say different types of components, when you want to display text, you have a text edit text box, you have a label to display labels, you have a button, you have video, you have barcode, you have Google Maps, you have signature and the like. So all these are components that you can use. And you have templates. Well, the templates for this are not populated, but just to let you know that you can use the existing templates. So you have templates for a welcome screen or splash screen. You have templates for login screen. You have templates for menu screen and the like. So these are all the different templates that you can use. So I'm going to get started. Now, you can't use any of these without creating a page. So I'm going to start. Maybe I'll just very quickly introduce you onto the right-hand side of this frame. This is the page panel. And every time you create a new page, this page, you will see the page being featured here. So just take note of it. Like every time you create a page, you'll see it here. You can create pages either manually or through a wizard. So I'm going to just show you how to create a page manually and also how to create a page with a wizard. So I'm going to do it once. So I click new over here and just give the name of the page. So I'll just call it P1 and I say create. So a page, the moment it's created, you'll see this page featured here. Now, this is the active page. So you can always just click on the page. The minute you click on the page or any component or anything on the page, you will see the relevant properties. Now, these are all the CSS properties that's associated with the item that's selected. So, for example, I've selected the page P1 and I have the name of the page. These are the properties. So you have the page inspector displaying the properties. I have the name of the page. This is given by the system. I have the title of the page. Then I have all the CSS properties. Now, if you're wondering what or how to remember the CSS properties are generally meant for like all the elements that's part of the HTML workload. So I'm going to just when I add a few things, I'll probably just show you. So for a start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just change maybe the background, maybe the background color. So I'm just going to change the background color from white. I'll probably just change it to any of this. And once I choose this, I will click on choose. So I have got background color using the CSS property. Background color is the CSS property of the item that I've selected. So the item that I've selected is page 1, P1, and the background property is changed. So I can change. Well, you can always play around with this while you go along. I'm just playing around with it. Now, if you want to know more about the property, like you might always want to know, like, hey, how do I use this? Well, if you have learned some bit of HTML, you'll also understand a little bit of CSS. You can always click on this link, and it will open up the tutorials where it will show you, like even if you're an HTML developer, it will show you the actual example and ask you to try it out yourself. So any of these you can always refer to by coming to WW3 to see how it works for you to better understand. So that's how it's done. So for example, here you see this is HTML and background. This is JavaScript background. CSS, sorry, which is talking about the background color, and it says coral. So I just click try it yourself. So you see the background color has changed to coral. So I can always change it to others. So I'm just going back. So you can always come back to this screen. Yeah, it's a cool function. Sorry, just this one is always a problem. Every time this floating panel. Okay, I'm going back to my screen here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a similar page now with a wizard and change the background color. So always remember the rule of the thumb is when you want to leave a page, make sure whatever you have put on that page is saved. Because if you don't save it, the browser is going to refresh and it's going to go into another screen. So all what you have done will get lost. So always, we have done this on purpose because sometimes you don't want to save. Like I don't want to save this, so I can always refresh this page. So it's not saved. I don't need to unnecessarily undo it and stuff like that. I know a lot of you will be asking questions like, can we use right-click and shortcut? Well, this is slightly away from Windows, so you need to get used to the platform a little. But we will be adding more of the Windows-based, shortcuts and things like that, as we go along. But for the time being, you'll have to use what is provided in the platform in terms of the functionalities. So I'm going to create using the wizard. So how do I do that? But before that, I'll save this. So there's an option here which says save. You can't press Control S to save or use the control keys. You have to click on this button, like what I said. And I'm going to use the page wizard. So if you notice, like you can always refer back to your PowerPoint slides where you see the actual icon. It says there's a wand here. This wand is the functional wizard. And next to the wand is another icon, which is the page wizard. So all I have to do is just click on the page wizard. So the page wizard goes step by step. So it says generate a page. Yes, I want to generate a page. And it's asking me, okay, what template do you want to use on the page? So for the time being, I'll just create a page. So I'm just using the first template. And I click next. Then I just have to give the name of the page. So I'll just say page 1 or page 2. So I've just created a page. So if you notice, on the right-hand side, you'll see the 2 pages. So page 1 is the active one, which is what you're seeing now. If you want to switch to page 2, all you have to do is just click on page 2. So the page 2 is what was done with the wizard. So the wizard shows you the screen with the template that is already there. Nothing is there, but this is the wizard's page. So you're able to create pages. Okay, now let's try this out. I'm going to save this before I do anything else. Let's save this. Now let's try it together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a page manually. So let's click on new on the right top panel. I just click new and I just give a name. So I'm just going to call it page 3. Sorry, page 3. In your case, you can give it as page 1. And I just say create. So a page is created. Now, when a page is created, it is always listed on this screen here. And the active page is the one which has got a light shade. The inactive pages are with a blue shade. So if you want to switch between the pages, all you have to do is just click on the one that you want to see. So right now, the one that I'm seeing is page 2, which is showing me this. Page 3 is the one I just created now with you. And it's got nothing in it. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, maybe just change the background color. So I have to make sure that I choose the page. So the page has to be active. And then I can just scroll down to the properties where you see, when you scroll down, you see this background. And you have to just change the background color. So when you choose the background, you can choose any background color. So choose the background. You can also change using this, where it adds a little bit of gradients when you drag it with this to change the color. So this is my background. I've done this as part of my exercise. Make sure you save this. So get into the habit of, if you're sure what you have put in, please save it. So once saved, this page is there. But if you don't save it and if let's say, for example, I create a page and I go out of this page, then and I go back to another page, and then every chance of you losing your page that was not saved. So the same thing can be done with a wizard. So let's do it with a wizard. Let me know if you have questions. So the wizard, please remember, it's next to the wand, the magic wand. Next to that, to the left of it, you'll see a page wizard. So when you click on that, it will open up a page wizard. And all you have to do is just go according to the steps. So generate a page. You don't need to click on the drop down, because this one is also used for other purposes besides generating a simple page. For the time being, we just stick to generate a page and we click next. We choose any template which we want for the time being and click next. And then we give a name for the page. That's all. It's a very straightforward option, and then say finish. So our page 4 is automatically created. This is page 4, which has got the new, which is done with the wizard.
Sir?
Yeah.
For the step flow 3, what title should we enter in there?
Which one you're talking about?
After it says select the page template to be generated. Then I select next.
Yeah, just go next. Then it'll ask for the page title.
Enter the title of page to be generated.
Yes, exactly.
What title do you give?
Any title, just for the purpose of demonstration, just use any title. Just
page 2.
Anything. I mean, yeah. You just want to see how a page is created.
Sir?
Yep.
For creating an app, I get this error. I
What
think
error?
it's in Malay. So before creating the app, so I'm pressing the button, creating an app.
Okay.
And then I received this error, which is I sent it in Zoom chat.
Okay, just a minute. Let me check. I have lost my screen. One second. Okay. Sorry, yeah. Just. Silakan login. Aris, can you just Aris? Okay. Ayman.
Yes.
Yeah, Ayman. Can you just check with Aris? Let him handle your query.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. Coming back to. Yeah. So I hope everyone is able to create a page manually as well as with a wizard. So let me know if you have any questions on the page creation. Because what we're going to do, if you may notice, we're going to create those 3 pages. So this is the 3 pages that we're going to create. We're going to create a first page, which is a splash screen. And then we're going to have an about us page where we're going to put 3 components. And then we're going to have the third page, which is going to talk about us. So as a completion of assignment 1. Okay, awesome. So if anyone has got any questions, please feel free to put it in here. So Aris can actually check just in case I don't see the chat when you're asking me the question. So let's get back to the application itself. So what I'm going to do now is, while I'm talking, you can just simply create, just repeat that once or twice, so you're very familiar with it. But it's just for your understanding. So you don't waste time. Okay, so I'm going to now do this assignment 1. So my assignment 1 is going to be 3 pages that I'm going to create. So what I'm going to do now, before I get into it further, I would want you to understand that always remember, whatever you put on your page, everything goes with the way you put it in, the way you slot it in, and when you try to drag and drop your components. See, so far we have not seen a component. When I say a component, I've just only changed the background, right? So I'm going to create a page now. So let me just create a page. I'll just call it. I'll just call it page 5, just for my record. So my page 5, what I'm going to do is, instead of using anything else, I'm going to manually create this page.
So,
yep.
Do we have to also construct the page?
No. Just observe, and when I say let's do it again, then it'll be easier for the rest in case. Huh? I mean, I want to know the speed at which the process goes. So once I get a feel, right, and you say like, sir, no need to wait, we can do it with you, then I don't mind. But I'm only afraid that, you know, some might be like stuck somewhere, then it might be a bit difficult when we don't do it together. Yeah. But if you can cope up with my speed, I don't mind. But the only thing is, I don't want you to lose halfway between, you know, then you'll be stuck. So I'm going to just do this. I'm going to now create a page. So I've just created a page, and I'm starting to put some components. So what I'm going to do is probably put an image. That's the best thing I can do. So always remember, like what I was just telling you earlier, whatever you drag and drop, like for example, I'm dragging this image and dropping it here, right? So the page is selected before I do this. Now this image is actually placed here. I can drag it according to the properties that's been set for this, the way it's positioned, because the properties also include the position and all those. So the position is like, you have different positions. So right now, if you look at the position of this image that's being selected, see the properties of this image that is selected is displayed now. So you'll see like the position of this is absolute. Now, if you ask me what is absolute, you can always go to the WW3 school, and you can see there are different types of positions. Like you have static, you have fixed, you have relative. These are all, you can play around to see how it differs. So I'm not going to spend time on this, but just to let you know, you're free to try this out. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just put a picture here. Now you'll notice that under page, you have a component called picture image. Now the properties of that image which is selected are displayed. The name of the image and the rest of the properties, like the position, what I just showed you. Then you have something like a top margin, you know, a bottom margin and the likes. And of course, a few other CSS properties. So I'm going to probably just add another button. So I'm going to drag a button and place it here. So the button has got its properties. So if you don't see the button placed according to your requirement, that means something is wrong with the properties. So the way the properties are placed. So even here, if you notice, the position of the button is automatically assigned as absolute. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this image. Like if I want to change an image, all I have to do is just double click on the image. And I have an option to either choose what is there already there, like in the folders here. So right now I don't have any images, but here you notice that there are a few images which are in contrast colors. So I have options to choose from here, or I can upload a file from my from my folders. So I'm going to choose select files, and I'm going to just well, I'm going to use okay, I'll just choose images, and I'm just going to, okay, I'll just put this, for example. So I'm going to choose this. This is my image, and I'm going to just upload it. So the image is uploaded to the assets folder, the media library assets folder. And I can just select the image by clicking on the radio button and click select. Now this image is based on the properties that has already been set for this particular image. So you'll notice that your image that you put up is based on those height and the top margin and the bottom margin and the size and the likes. So you can always adjust this by changing. I mean, you can change these properties. So, for example, I want to change, let's say, I want to change the size of this image. So right now, if you notice, the size of the image, one of the properties, one of the CSS properties is width, which is 100 pixels. So I'm just going to just change it just for your records. I'll just change it to 200, for example, 200 pixels. So I just put 200 px. You'll notice that the image has changed accordingly. And I'm just going to, like position it there. Then if I change, I have the option to either put pixels, px, or it can be in percentage. So I'm just going to make sure, like, for example, I want the width of this image to be 100%. So I can also put it in percentage, either in pixels or in percentage. So if you notice, it's 100% of this space. That's basically, it's covering the whole screen, screen for that particular page. So whatever is the page property, the left margin and the right margin of the page is 100% of that is occupied by the image, which is the width I've changed. So you can change according to pixels or with percentage. So this is just an example. Now, see, for example, I also want to change the button. So I have to click on the items. The moment I click on this, you'll notice on the right hand side, this button is clicked and its properties are displayed. So I have an option, like I want to make the size of this button, like change the size of this button. Maybe I'll just make this button. Before I do anything with the button, let me just double click inside this button and just change this, like go to next page, for example. So now I want to change maybe the buttons. Let's say I want to change the background of this button, background color. So I have an option to change the background color. I have an option to change so for example, I change it to red. So I have an option to change. So depending on the item that I chose, I can change the relevant CSS properties. That's okay. This involves a lot of patience, because you need to make sure, like, okay, I want this property in place. I want this to be in this size, in this position. You need to be very careful. Spend a little bit of time on that. So I will leave it to you to make it. When it comes to aesthetics, I'm very bad at it. Like, I can never be a good graphic designer. So I'm not going to even try. So I'll just stick to what I know best. So this is a page which I just created. I'll make sure I save this. So what have I done? I've just added an image and I've just added a button. I've changed the image and I've changed the contents of the button. I've changed the color of the button. So how do I change the contents of the button? Like the label of the button, I just double click and just type over. So you can either do that, or if you look at the item that's selected, which is the button, you will see the properties of that button. So there's a thing called caption. So here you can change, you can either click here and type it out. You can also do that. Or you can just double click here and type it out. So it's up to you where you want to do it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of functionality. So in this screen, I'm going to just, like when somebody clicks on this button, I'm probably going to page 1. Just go to page 1, just navigate between the 2 pages. So how am I going to add a function? So you remember there was something called a visual logic screen where you can build your logic. So this is the visual logic screen icon. So I have chosen the item that is going to activate that function. So the item is going to be, the event, if you may remember what I said, the event is going to be a click. So why is this function called going to page P1? Why is it called? Because somebody's clicking on this button. So the event is a click. So when I click on this, make sure there's two things to note. Make sure you don't click on the label, click on the whole button. So the whole button is actually selected. And then I choose the event flow. So I choose the item event first. So to make doubly sure, this is the event flow. So it's happening on page 5 and it's happening on the button. So what is happening? What is the event? It's a click. So you have press and long press. I mean, when you say press, it's like, just pressing once. Long press is holding the button for long. So on your device, on your mobile device, when you press a button, it's just pressing a button and releasing it is similar to click and press. But long press is when you keep continuously pressing long, you do what? So I'm just using click as a default. So it comes to this screen. Now on this screen, I see some variation. I see the image, the workspace, the design, the page design pushed to the right-hand side, which is like a preview now. And I also see the components, meaning the other pages or other elements that are there. So if you notice, under components, I have image and button. And I can choose from here as well, but I'll just go back to design, this portion here. And I'm now going to add a function. Why are we here? We're going to add a function. What is this function going to do? It is going to, when somebody clicks on this go to button, it is going to a page which is called P1 or whatever, right? So I'm going to choose the function by clicking inside this function area. And I'm just going to, okay, these are common functions. So I'm just going to say go to. So when you say go to, you already have all the functions that's relevant to this. So there's one function called go to page. I can just drag this and drop it inside that black connector. So go to function logic is now ready. You just need to supply it with a parameter. In other words, I just need to make sure that I choose the go to the page name. So when I click on the arrow here, I get a lot of pages. So my idea was to go to page 1, right? So I'm just going to click on page 1. So the name of the page, which is PGP1, which is automatically given by the system, is displayed. Now I need to make sure that I save this. So make sure that you save what you do, otherwise you lose track. And then I would like to preview. Now, if you may remember, I told you that the first page should be your home page. The first page should be changed to your home page, right? So my first page, so which page do you think should be my first page to be displayed? It should be this page. And what is this page? It is page 5, right? Which has got a system name PG page 5. So this should be my first page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is my first page. So I remember you telling you that page design and global attributes are two important things that you need to take note. So I need to change the global attributes of my first page by clicking on global attributes. And the default page is a blank. So I click here and I make sure that my first page is page 5, which is page 5 as given by the system. And then I click save. So now the page which will be first loaded will be page 5. So let's go back to the design screen. Always remember, come back to the design screen. And let's try to preview this page. But before that, I'll just make sure that I have something on page 1. I just click on page 1. So page 1 is just the screen. It's got nothing there. But nevertheless, let's just do it. So I click on, I've saved everything. Now I'm clicking on preview. So when I click on preview, my first page will be displayed. Then I have an option, which is the button. So when I click on this, it should go to page 1, which is what it's being done, which is done there. So on this page, I've just changed the background. There's nothing in it, right? So we have managed, what are the things we have achieved? Like, what are the things I have achieved in this exercise? I have managed to create a page and put two components. One is an image. I've just changed the image size. Like I made it 100%, the width. Then I added a component like a button, and I just changed the color, and I also changed the text, the label. And I made sure that when I click on this page, I automatically go to page 1. So this is what has been achieved. Now I want to do it with you. So let's do it from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a page. So I'm going to create a page. So I click new. Let's do it together. I'm going to repeat the same page. So I'm going to click new. And my name of the page, I'll just call it page 6, just for my records. And I click create. So a page 6 is created. Now I'm going to make sure that I put an image. So I have the image under the component list. So this is my image option. You see an image there. You just drag that and drop it. For those who don't see it, that means you're not selected that particular page. The page should be selected before you drag. So I just make sure that the first thing what I do is, before anything else, I change the size of this image. So the image that is selected, I go back to the property side and I change the size. Instead of making it 100 pixels, I change it to 100%. So this needs a little bit of time. So you make sure that you spend a little bit of time experimenting this. So now the image size is displayed as 100%. The width property has been changed. Now I'm going to add a button. So I just click on the button from the component list and I drag it below the image. And I'm going to just change the contents of this button. So I'll just double click on this and I'll say, go to page 6. I'll just click on it and drag it just a little below that. As long as the CSS properties are in place as absolute, then you'll be able to move it around. Okay. Now I'm going to just change the background color of this image of this button that I have selected. So I click on background and I change the background color. So you have the option to just randomly click. So just choose a color and then click on choose. So if you know the color properties, you can directly type it out. Like for example, the color property for whatever color I have chosen is this. It's hash something there. I can't see. Yeah, it's D51717. So if you know the color codes, it's easy for you to type the color code straight away there. I just choose this. So now my button color has changed. I'm going to just change the image to have, you can change it to any image. For the time being, I'll just use the one that is having the university logo. So I just double click on this, on the image.
Sir?
Yes.
For the image, do we like have to download an image and put there, or do we?
If you have an image on your laptop, you can always upload it from there. So I mean, you don't need to use the logo that is your university logo. What you can do is just any image, as long as you have one on your laptop. So I'm just going to choose. See, right now I'm choosing it for you. I'm just choosing upload file.
Sir?
Yeah.
How do we upload the video? Upload the photo again?
Okay. Just double click on the image. You mean upload?
No,
Okay, okay.
no image available. You want to put image there, right? How do you
Yeah.
just double click,
Just double click.
upload
And
file?
then you upload file, then select the file. So let me just change the image this time. I'll just choose the cap. So this image is already there on my screen. You know what I mean? I mean, it's on my laptop. So if you have some under pictures, you might have some images, right? So just choose any random picture and just click and select OK. So once the image is selected and you have it, you just have to upload it. There's an option to upload it. So when you click upload, after you select the picture, this picture is uploaded into the media library asset. So it's under app folder. It's there. Now I want to use this image in my current app page. So I just click on this image and I click select. Of course, it looks a bit odd because it is 100%. But just to give you an idea of how to include images or any component for that matter. So now, having said that, having put a picture, don't spend too much of time on a picture thing. Only thing, just try to change the size, the width. So you will have it under size. Just make it 100%. So you have it displayed properly. So I told you that you have an option to either display it in pixels or in percentage. The percentage is based on the item that's selected. So if you're inside a particular page, the page properties 100% or percentage is taken. So for example, if I say cover all the 100% that belongs to the page, then the width is to that particular page. So this is the page size and 100% of that is chosen. Same goes with height. You know, in case I change this to 100%, for example, I change this with height is also 100%. So I have, you know, see now the whole picture is covered. I mean, to the height and width, but I don't want it as 100%. Maybe I can just say, okay, give it as a 30%. So now I have it like that. I say, no, it looks a bit odd. Maybe give it like 20%. So now it's like that. So now, once you are able to just change a few properties like width and height, I mean, specifically the width so that the image doesn't float around here and there. You try to change the properties of the button. Now we're going to add a function. So let's try to add the function. And how do you add the function? Why are we adding a function? That is, if somebody clicks on go to page, it should go to a different page, right? That's the idea. So I use this manually. I'm not using a wizard yet. I'm just directly using a visual logic event flow. So I click on the button, and then I click on the event flow. And now you'll see for yourself that the button is the one that is selected. So just say OK. And now you have the screen, which will allow you to include the function. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a function, a go to page function. This is a basic function. So I drag this and drop it right in the center of that the black connector. So the function is included. When you click on the function here, you will see the parameter that needs to be passed to this function. So the function needs to have a parameter. Go to which page? So the page will be the dynamic one. It will keep changing. So here you need to pass the value. So in this case, I change it to P1. And I just make sure I save it. Make sure you save it. Now from this screen, before I preview it, I should make sure that the page that I want to display will be this page first. So I should make sure that global attributes, change the global attributes of the home page. Before I click on preview, make sure when you click preview and you don't see anything on the screen, that shows that you're not changed your home page. So go back to global attributes. Make sure you choose the page. So in this case, I'm going to choose page 6 as my home page. I click save, it's important. Over here on the right hand side, there's a save button. And then I go back to my page design. And once I do that, I just click preview. So I have my screen with the button, the image and the button. When I click go to page 6, the button, it should automatically go to page 1, which is what I have done. So I hope you are successful in that. Okay. Okay, awesome. Okay, now we're going to add a little more features. So I'm going to do the same thing. Maybe I'll just add one more button, and that second button, I'm going to use it with a wizard. I'm going to use the wizard to make me go to the next page. So in this case, I'm going to make sure that I go to page 2. So let me just check what is in page 2. Maybe just go to this page. So I'm going to go back to page 6, and I'm going to include one more button. You can make sure that you can see all the components by just dragging this a little. And you'll see the button there. I'm just dragging this and dropping it here. Now, don't worry about the position of the button yet, because I told you it all depends on the property, the position that's being used by the, so it's still absolute. So you'll have the option to drag it accordingly.
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, made a bit of mistake. Could you slow down a bit?
Okay. What is the mistake you made?
I may have, I think I may have done something now. What you're showing now, I think it's gone.
You mean you cannot see my screen, or?
No. What I did now is gone because I think I may have accidentally done something.
Gone in the sense like, did you change?
It's not present. I think I saved it and then I went back. And now it's gone.
Okay, if it's gone, just check your properties. Can you check?
Where is that again?
Did you change anything on the properties? Like,
How do you
see,
go to?
like, the position should be absolute. If you change it to something else, right? See, right now, if you notice, I just changed it to static. Did you see what I did now?
Yeah, I'm seeing that.
See, right now, I changed it back to absolute, right? You see, I changed it to absolute, right? The button, I've chosen the button now. And the position, the position and display under position CSS property, it's now absolute. Now I'm changing it to, let's say I change it to static. You see what has happened? It's totally gone off the screen because the property is not relevant to fit inside this particular screen. Why? Because you should know the meaning of position. So if you want to know what is a position, I'll just give you an example. I'm just going to click on this position. Okay. And here he's giving you an example. See, he says position is absolute. Left is 100 pixels, top is 150, 100 pixels. Okay, so I'm going to try it out. So just watch. I'll just show you this one will give you a better understanding. So it says, what is position property? This with absolute positioning, an element can be placed anywhere on a page. The heading below is placed 100 pixels on the left, which is because it's got left 100 pixels, and 150 pixels from the top of the page. So this is a heading with an absolute position, right? Now let's run it. Oh, this is the example for an absolute. So if you do the same thing, let's say with, where's my screen? Okay, let's say, I try it with, okay, here I see I'm changing this. Okay, so you see, when I change based on this, when I change, see now the position is relative. You see instead of absolute, it's relative. So you see this chunk of box, it automatically moved according to it's moved 20 pixels from the top of its original position. So the original position of my div style is here. So you see there's 20 pixels from the top. This is the 20 pixels you're talking about, this space. So what I'm trying to tell you is when you play around with the properties, the CSS properties, you need to spend a little bit of time here because I'm not able to spend too much of time on the CSS properties. But when you want to play around with the CSS properties, please do spend a little bit of time for you to get a general understanding, because this is not eMOBIQ, it's something to do with HTML and CSS, right? So I would want you to just try it out so you have a general idea. Basically, this is for you to get some sort of an idea.
Sir?
Yeah.
Another question. You know that page 3, when you insert the image in the button, do we have to save that and then click on event flow?
Okay, let me come back to the screen. Let me just hide this. Yeah, come back. What's it again? Sorry.
You just now you created this. You go to.
Make it absolute. Yeah.
Okay. You created a page 6, right? Then you went on the event flow. Before you go on the event flow, do you have to save it?
Make sure you click the button. See, always remember, before you go to an event flow, you should make sure that you select the event that is going to be associated with it, with the object. So the object is the button, right? See, what is an event? Event is, it can be a click, it can be a load of the page, it can be a click of the button.
See, because sir, I'm trying to go on that page. I clicked on event flow.
Yes. Before you click on event flow, have you clicked on the button before you go into the event flow?
I'm clicking on it right now.
Okay, so you click on, let me show it to you once. So I'm clicking on the button, right? Sorry, I just click on the outside, not on the label. So I just click on the button. Now I'm clicking event flow, right? Are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, so when I click on event flow, now make sure that this particular button is chosen. Like it's already there by default. The event is a click. Yes. Say okay. So right now I come to this screen, correct?
Yes.
Okay, now I need to add a function. What is the function I'm going to add? I'm going to add a function. Go to page, right? So I'll just add this page, this function, drop it inside that connector. And when I click on go to page, on the right hand side, I'll be automatically asked to give the name of the page. It's a parameter that I pass to the function go to page. So when I click here, in this case, I'm just going to go to page 2. Just for the record, right? And where is this page 2? It's already saved. Page 2, I've already saved it. That's why it's there. So these are all the pages that have already been saved, right? You get my point?
Yeah. And then you preview.
No. Before that, you make sure you save this because this is a new function that you added, right?
So save.
Yes, make sure you save it because you don't want to lose it in case there's any screen refresh or anything like that.
It says event flow changes has been successfully saved or something, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then preview. But before you preview, you make sure that the page that you want will be the home page. That is in global attributes. You have to go and change the page. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm gonna remove one of the button. Let's say I don't want that button. How do I delete the button, sir?
Okay. Coming back to that. A good question. So I'm just going to come back to that. Let me just answer that straight away. So let's say, for example, you have all these components. Now, always remember, each of these components, you can do a lot of things with these components. I'll just quickly share with you, like what the question that was raised about how to delete a button. Now, if you select a specific button, like say, for example, I choose button 462, which is this button, right? Now, I want, let's say, to do a few things with it. I can copy the button. See, if you notice on the left-hand side, on the top, there's an option to copy. You can paste it, right? You also have an option to delete it. So if you want to delete it, you can delete it here. Now, don't get confused between this delete and the page delete. So there's an option for the page delete. If you want to delete a page, you can always choose, instead of new, you just select the page and click delete. So to answer your question, you click delete here. So you can delete a button.
Sorry, sir.
If you want to copy the button, so say for example, okay, this button, which I'm selecting now, I can either click here or click on this right-hand side. See, when I click here, there's only one problem I might face. If I have some buttery fingers, right, I might click twice by mistake, right? And sometimes I might click inside the label. Like this, I might click here, thinking that I've clicked on this. Now my clicking is on this place. So it's not right. The whole button should be selected. So you should click outside to make sure the button is selected, right? To avoid this confusion, it's easy to click this on the right-hand side. You see the under pages. So when you select this, easier to select the whole button rather than selecting label and all that.
Sorry, sir, I have a question.
Yeah.
So how about when I already set the function of the button, how can I delete the function?
Okay, so the same applies. So say for example, now let's go back, like now, right now you already set a function, right? So I'm going to the event page. Okay, I just say okay. Now this function I want to delete, right? This is a question you asked me, right? So you want to delete this function.
Yes, sir.
So I select the one that is there, and you have an option which says delete. You have an option which says copy, paste. So supposing I want to copy, I can copy also. So I want to copy this twice. I just copy and I can paste it. So this same function, right? This go-to function, I just copy it, right?
Oh, okay.
Let's say, for example, let's say I delete it. So I select the function and delete it, right? Now it's deleted. Now I have an option to just paste because I just copied it earlier. So it comes back. So you have an option. Please remember, you can always copy, paste, delete by selecting the item and then choosing the copy, paste, and delete options from this portion of the screen. Either in this screen like this or in page design, you see the same thing. Like here, you see delete, you see copy and paste here at the top left. So same thing. The delete is here. Now don't use this delete because this delete is for deleting pages. Okay. Okay. So I'm just before I move on, I'm just going to give you like about 5 minutes break. So when we come back, we'll finish assignment 1, and then we'll go ahead with the rest of the training session. So I'll give you a 5-minute break. Will that be okay?
5-minute break, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, just have a tea break. I'll be back in 5 minutes. we can get started.
Yes, sir.
All right. I was just wondering where everybody disappeared. Okay,
sir.
so basically, right, what we have done is, okay, these are all baby steps to app development. So what I initially told you is, this is a program which is actually having different levels of training. One is a foundation level, and then there's a professional level. So what we are trying to do here in today's session is basically giving you a preview to what is coming up in the actual training, like when you really have those 2-3 days of training that's in each of these levels, right? So try not to do it in such a way that you're going to master the eMOBIQ platform in this session. Like you're just getting a feel of, okay, this is how things are done. And we can actually keep building, you know, adding more to the application's capabilities. So we can always keep building it as we go along. But for today's session, you should have a good understanding of how simple it is in terms of developing applications. You have not seen me write a single line of code, and you'll be surprised that such applications that you build is worth, like, you know, in Singapore context or even in the US context, our team of developers, when they develop such applications, and not this kind of application where you're just showing, you know, 2 screens, but I'm talking about a real full-fledged application. It's done like in less than like 2 months, very sophisticated application using this no-code platform. And the charges, like, you know, like a man-day effort, like for every man-day, being a mobile developer with it can be, you know, with no code or with code, but the compensation that you get paid is depending on the niche expertise. Like, so if you have very niche expertise in certain areas, the compensation rates can range from like $100 a day to close to $1,500 a day. So that's the kind of, you know, demands that application developers have today. So you can actually see how this fits into this whole picture, you know, how using such platforms you can actually build such applications. So let's get cracking. Let's not go to the dream world of, you know, the actual. Okay, so what we wanted to achieve is, very quickly, I want to make sure that I have a page that shows up, which is called the splash screen or the welcome screen. And I want the university logo. And then maybe the screen shows up for maybe a few seconds. And then automatically it goes to the next page, which is the About Us page. And on the About Us page, I'm going to have a label which says About Us with a border like in this color. Then I have an image. And then below that image, I'm going to have a video of the UMW page, UMW introduction. And then there's another button that I've included, which is going to be the next page. So when I click on the next page, like what we have already seen, it will go to the next page, which will talk about you with your picture and with a welcome text added with audio. So basically, that's what we're going to do. So before I get started, let me go back to my application. What I'm going to do, just for the records, is I will probably just create new pages so that it doesn't confuse you. So I'm going to create 3 pages straight away.
Should we also create those pages?
Okay, I'm going to do it once, then we do it together, right? So let me do it quickly once, then we'll do it together. So I'm going to click. Page 100. Now my page 100 is blank, and I'm going to actually use something different this time. So rather than putting stuff here, I'm going to use a template. So instead of using components, I'm just going to click on templates, and I'm going to choose under type of templates. I'm going to choose maybe a field sales, which is already there. And I will just use the splash screen template. So this is the screen that I'm going to use. So I chose the type as field sales and the splash screen template. So I'm going to drag this and drop it inside. So this is my page 100. That's my first page. Now I'm going to change this Orange Cloud 365 logo with the university logo. So it makes it easier for me. So double click on this. And I just choose the university logo. And I just upload it. Already there, so I just have to choose it. So the university logo is there. Now, if you may notice, there's something that's being added with the template, because this is the template. So if you may notice on this under page, in all the previous pages, you might not notice this, but suddenly you see there's something called a panel that's coming in. Now, what are these panels? Okay, panels are generally containers. You think of them as containers. And these containers are meant to group items. So you can group components. Like, for example, you might have, let's say, I call it a cupboard, so when you open the cupboard, you have different, like the cupboard itself is one big container. And inside that container, you might have different areas where you can slot things in, right? So each of them will be like small containers where you can put a few things inside. So for example, you might have a container that has all your makeup items. I'm talking about the women, guys. I hope you don't have makeup items in your container. So the makeup items are all going into one container. Like you have your lipstick, you have your, I'm just giving you an example to relate, right? It might not be relevant, but so likewise on a screen, you can have a container called a panel, and you can drop, like, let's say, a button and an image inside that. So when you do anything with that panel, you're actually also moving things inside that container, which is all the button and the image. So in a way, for you to see how to place your elements, like your components, your different components. Like we saw how to place, in the previous example, we saw how to place an image and a button. We did not use any panel. We just used a single frame and we just put a picture and a button. But in this case, since this is templated, which is the way, like you will be using, automatically you'll see a different set of panels, and each of these panels are like grouped. When I say group, you'll see it like for yourself. You have a panel main. Now under this panel main, you have a panel, there's another panel for table. So if you notice, you'll see a dotted line which shows you the actual panel that you've chosen. Then if you go under this, you'll see a panel cell. So a table will have a cell. So there's a cell panel. And under the cell, you see two components. You see an image and a label. So you see this image and label is coming under this panel's cell, or whatever you call it. right? Like it's inside another panel called a panel table, which is again inside another panel called panel main. In other words, we're trying to group all these items in such a way, just like how a dressing table or a cupboard looks like. Like inside a cupboard, you have different panels. With different panels, you have different items stored in each panel, something like that, right? So if you notice, this eMOBIQ, the last bit portion here, is also inside another panel. So you have now these two panels are under the same level, like panel cell 1 and cell 2. You see, look at this the label license. The label license, this panel it's in a different panel called cell 2, but it is along the same level of cell 1. And these two panels are under another panel called panel table, which is again under another panel called panel main, if you notice. So it's like grouped under different. Why is this all done? To make things easier to paste. Like when you paste items on your screen and you want it exactly put inside a panel and you want it placed properly, you start creating panels and then you start putting elements into that, like components into that. I'm going to show you in a while. So if you notice the last panel, panel cell 3, see, this is the panel. If you see the dotted lines, you'll notice that image, the footer is, see, if you notice that footer is inside cell 3. And cell 3 shares the same level as cell 2 and cell 1, which is under a table. So if you look at a table, you know, like you would have seen in Excel or in Word, when you create tables, you'll have rows and columns inside a table. So every table will have different cells. Like every row will have different cells. Every column will have different cells. Something similar to that is what we are showing here. This is just to make sure that you group. The idea is just to make sure that you group the items in a panel, so you don't disturb the properties of the panel for different items inside a panel. So I'm going to change this. This one I'm just going to say my first app, and I am actually also going to change the background color of this this particular panel, like this particular cell, right? So I just go down to my background, and right now it says CSS, background CSS is white, so I just delete this and I just change this to maybe this. So now I have maybe something lighter. So something like this. I mean, just for your records, right? So whatever you have changed is only inside this panel. Please remember, it's not into, like, it's not changing everything. So if you want to change everything, it has to be under the main panel. You have to choose the main panel and then change. You see, then you have to change the entire value of that. So for the time being, I'm only changing this particular panel's background color. And now I'm going to add something more interesting. I'm going to make sure that when this page is triggered by an event called page load, like, you know, you have different events. Click button is one event. Loading a page is another event. So when this page loads, I want to do something. So what is it that I want to do? I want to keep a timer. So when this page displays, I want to keep counting with a timer that when the page reaches, like when it's 3 seconds, automatically the page should go to my second page. That's page 200, which is going to be my About Us page. So that's what I want to do. So what I'm going to do here is, let me just change this back to white. So white is one I learned yesterday. Aris taught me. So FFF 6 times is white. That's the color. 2, 4, 6. So I've changed it to white background. Now I'm going to make sure that when the page loads, so this is a function that's related to the page, not to the particular cell. So you make sure that whatever you've done, just make sure you save what you did. There's to be a tag on that. And then I'm going to go to page 100. You see the page 100 option there. So I click on page 100 on the right hand side top. So now I have everything related to page 100 being the target that is selected. Now at this point, I'm going to create an event, which is a page load. So I go to page event and I can click on event flow. So now the page is selected, not the items inside the page, please note. And it's not going to be a click event. This is going to be a page event. So it's going to be, you see different events that are related, not just click and press. You see there's going to be click, there's load. You can click on a page, you can load a page, you can resume a page load. You can scroll top, you know, all these are different. You can receive a message on a page. So all these are different events. So my event that I'm going to choose is when the page loads. So I click on event load as my event and I say, okay. So right now, this has got to do with the event load. And this event load is only available only for page. Please remember, you cannot click on a button and expect the load event to be on a button. It doesn't happen that way. So here I'm going to set a timer. So what is the timer that I'm going to set? So I will just try to do something with time. So I just choose time. And from here, you'll see all the time related functions. So there is something called a set time out. So I'm going to drag this set time out and drop it in here. And when I click on the set time out, is asking me to pass some parameters, some value. Yeah.
It says there's one part that says convert time zone date. What happens if some of us don't have that feature?
When you type time, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So these are the functions that I've been using, right? So if you know that function, like when you start using the function, you type the function, it automatically comes in there. So it's a matter of you just using the eMOBIQ platform a few times, and then you start learning the functions. So straight away you can even type the function out. You get my point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to use the set timeout to set time, and the value that I'm going to pass, there's no value here, right? It has to be an integer in milliseconds. So 1000 milliseconds is 1 second. So I'll probably just pause it it's asking me how much of time is going to be spent with the timer. So I'm going to say spend about 3000 milliseconds, which is like 3 seconds. And that's all. I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to change any of this. Just leave it by default blank. And then I just click on save. So what has happened now, I have set a timer that when this page loads, this particular page, when it loads, it will pause for 3 seconds. And then I'm asking it to go to the second page. So I will need to go back to my flow, and I need to add another function called, remember this, go to page. So after the 3 seconds is over, after that, I just drop this into this black connector here, and I use the drop down and say, after the timeout is successful, if the value returned is a yes, then you say okay. So you go to which page? So the name of the page is where you need to supply it. So in this case, I will just, for the time being, I'll just say page 1, because I have not created page 200 yet. So I will change it later, but for the time being, it will go to page 1 with the timer, and I don't need to click any button. The page will load, it will show, and it will automatically go to this page. So I now save this, and I make sure that this is my first page. So how do I change it? I go to global attributes, and right now it's showing page 6. It should show page 100 as my first starting page. I save this. And now I can go back to page design and preview the page. So now the page appears with so many seconds, and automatically it goes to page 2, because that's what it's asked it to do, right? After 3 seconds, after 3000 milliseconds, it will go to the next page, which is page 2 or page 1 or page 2, whichever I have set. So I have not clicked any button to go to page 2. I have not clicked on a button to go to page 2. It's automatically gone to page 2 based on the set timeout function. Now I'm going to add a few things, like, for example, in my screen design, my second page is going to have a label, it's going to have an image, it's going to have a video, and it's going to have a button. So I'm going to go here and maybe click my second page. So I just say new, I call it page 200. I click create. So this is
create as well, sir.
Okay. Okay. You maybe what I'll do is I mean, if you're up to my speed, you can do it with me. If you're not, please be reassured. I will come back and redo the first 2 pages again, so we can do it together. But if you're with me, then you can, when we're doing it together, also you could do it one more time. It's up to you, right? I mean, I will leave it to you. So page 200, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I have a label. I make sure that I have the so-called image and a video and another option, right? Another button. So what I'm going to do is, at this stage, I'm just going to play around with some panels. Now, don't worry about the position of the items inside the panel. We just start creating panels. So what are the panels that we're going to create? Just for the record purpose, right? I'm going to put the label in one panel. I'm going to put the image in another panel. I'm going to put the video in another panel. And I'm also going to put the next page button in another panel. So basically, I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 panels. So these are the panels that I need to create, which I'm just going to create. So I will just drag, see there's a container. I'm just dragging the panel and I put the panel here. So this is the panel that is going to have my label. So what is the label? The label is the component. I drag the label and drop it inside this component. So if you notice, don't worry about the position of the components, but if you notice that I have this label inside this panel, now I'm going to change the label. Either I double click here and type about us. Okay, and let's do some, let's just get everything in place, then we will arrange it and color it and make it beautify and stuff like that. So for the time being, we just put the panels, we put the label inside this panel. Maybe if you want this label to be of size 100% this panel size. So we make sure that this label is within this panel space, and you can also put 100% of the panel size. The height will be 100%. So everything about this label is now inside this panel. Now I'm going to make some changes, like maybe put some background color. So I just make it this color, and then maybe I change the color of my text. to the panel. Oh, just hold on. So you can choose. Okay, one second. I might have been choosing the wrong. Yeah, the background color. I want to change the text color. So I want to change the text color to something else. Okay, so I've chosen the color of the text. Then probably I want to make the text alignment. I make it center, and maybe I'll just leave it at this point. Then maybe the text capitalization, I capitalize everything. The text space, I can play around with all this, you know, like based on. I don't think spacing is important. So let's just do this. Then I'm going to add another panel to put my image. So I'm just going to put this panel here. So this panel is coming on the same level as panel which holds the label. Now I'm going to put the image inside this panel. So my image is going to be the picture. So already earlier I had actually put the picture, so it's already there. So the picture is in there. Now I would like to put a video. So I'm going to put another panel. And I'm going to just drag a video. Put the video in. So the video right now, what is chosen is also, okay, if you notice, this video is fallen out of the panel, so I've not actually dragged it. So what I can do is within here, I can actually drag it and drop it inside the panel. Right now, you can drag it and drop it inside the panel. Now I can change the properties of this this position of this video and the likes, but for the time being, I'll just stick to what is here, because what I want to do is I want to change the video that's being displayed. I want to make sure that it's changed. So what I'm going to do here is maybe I'll just change the size of this video, the height of this video to be 100 pixels. The video is currently in here. So now I'm going to change the source of this video. So how do I do that? So this particular video might be there in somewhere, you know, in your website, or I mean, so I'm just going to go here. Yeah, let me just choose any of your videos. Okay, so this is my video. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to embed this video. So not copy the link. I'm going to embed this video. So this video is going to go into my I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go back to my editor.
Sir.
Yeah.
A question about the video that we upload. When you upload a video, can it also be from other websites like
it can be anywhere as long as you provide the source. So whichever website or wherever, right? See, now I'm providing the source, right? So what I'm doing is I'm going to change a few things in this source. So it's going to be inside that frame, but I'm going to change the width and height. Like, so I'm not going to use the existing width and height. And I'm only going to show the source, which is HTTPS www YouTube or whatever, right? Then the remaining parameters, I don't need it. Like I really don't need it for this video screen. So I'm doing that. So right now I only have an iframe source and the name of the source. So if you want to change it from any other source other than YouTube or anywhere else, right? As long as you have the source, you should have the source. That's important.
Sir.
Yeah.
So just upload the link. That's it.
Not the link. It should be embed. You know, you have an option to embed, right? See, not this link. This link will not work. You need to embed the frame also. So there's an option to embed the frame, right? So you copy this whole thing into the source of your eMOBIQ screen, and then you remove the width and height, like what I did, and the rest of the things also. So I only have this embedded source without the width and height. I've removed that, and then I only have src is equal to till open close double quote. Then the rest of the things I've removed, if you notice, and I only have a closing frame. This is a HTML tag. So once I have this in place, my video is going to be automatically loaded. Like it's going to play in that space. Right? Now I just need one more button to complete the whole thing. I just need a button, which I can also put inside a frame. So what I'm doing here is I'm just, this one is going to be about my page, right? Go to next page. So I have this page. Now, if you want to position it accordingly, you can either put it inside a panel or you can put it inside, like you can change the properties, like you can change the height. Like for example, just change the height, maybe the top margin.
Sir?
Yeah.
How about if we get a video from a social media? But how about get a video from social media, but how do you embed if it's a video from the social media? Okay, so as long as you're able to give me the source. So if you just display the source, right? So where's that when you say social media, there should be a link, right? The social media is now going to play it, like even if it's a YouTube video, you can put it on Facebook, but you still need it from the source, right? You understand where I'm coming from? Yeah. So you need to get the source. So that embed portion is very important. So you know how to change the color of this button. So I just save this before I do it, before I lose anything. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another page, which is page 300. That is going to show about me. So this one will have basically an image, that's my picture, and a welcome display, and maybe a label which says this is my first app or whatever, right? So I'm going to create 3 frames.
3 panels. So this is one panel, and I'm going to put the picture. So my picture is going to be here. And I'm going to have a label. So this label is going to have a few things like this is my application. So something to that extent, maybe you can just change the width 100%. So the width is 100%. And I can also change like maybe the background color. Maybe make it black. And I just change the text. Yeah, just change it to this. So basically, this will be my image. So you change whichever image you put your image there. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a few things. So I'm going to make sure that this is on the page load. So what I'm going to do here is when the page loads, like after I click on this, go to next page on page 200. On page 300, I would display this image, and it would also display my text in audio, which means my whatever is here, it says, welcome to my page. I'm a robo. This is my application. That will be in audio. So this the text which is there will be converted to audio. I mean, this is just another added entertainment piece. So how do I do that? So I make sure that the event is on the page load. So the page has to be chosen. And then I have to make sure that I go to the event flow. So I choose page load. And all I have to do is the text that is there has to be converted to speech. So I just type text, and automatically functions related to the text are displayed. So text to speech is there. So you drag and drop it inside. So text to speech is another function. And the message that I want to be displayed, like this is the message. So now the message, for the time being, I will just put it as welcome. And the language that is used will be English. And you can also change the speed. So you can make the speech fast, or you can make the speed slow. So that's as far as the text to speech is concerned. Now this is relevant to the mobile device, which means when you run this here, it has to be compiled. Like basically right now it's in runtime, where you need to compile it, and then it will take all these functions from the compiled version, and only then you'll be able to see the effect of the text to speech. But for the time being, we just include this. So when we build it, when we build it as an Android or an iOS file, then you'll see the actual thing. But for the time being, just to preview it, I mean, just to preview what you have done, maybe what I can do is, although you'll not be able to hear the voice, but since you're not built it, but you can, when you preview, see, I was telling you that all this is under one integrated development environment. So what I can do is I can design. So what I've been doing all along is I've been designing different screens. Then I'm developing functions, logic with visual logic, and with wizards. Then I also have an option to preview on the fly, which means you don't need to finish the whole project to see how the app works. You can see it on the device. So I would like to request you, if you have a QR code reader on your mobile device, you can actually see this, like you can see it on your device as I build it. See how the impact of how it is. So if you scan this by clicking on instead of clicking on preview, if you just click on the drop down, you have an option to see the QR code. You will be able to see the actual application starting from page 100. What we just saw. So you can actually see it and see whether it works. So I'm going to click on preview now for the time being. So this is my first page. It displays for 3 seconds. I forgot to change it. Sorry. I will need to change, because I remember when I created this page, this is page 100. I made it to go to page 1. Now I need to change it. So I just go back to event flow on the page load. It should be on the page load. So make sure you select the page, not any item inside the page, and then change the event to load. So here, go to page, it should not be page 1, it should be page 200. So after the page displays for 3 seconds, it should go to page 200 in my case. So I save it, and then I preview it. So this is my first page I display. So this is my, if you notice, I put the label, the button inside. I didn't put it inside a panel. So if you notice, it's floating here. But just to show you the difference. So this is the video. So the video is displayed inside that panel. And the next, go to next page. So if you want to adjust, you can always adjust, like, this panel is quite big, so you can always reduce the size of this panel. So this image, this panel goes up, then you'll have more space. We'll just do that in a while. So you can always click on go to next page. So if you notice, I have not given any function to this yet. When I click on go to next page, nothing happens because I did not include that function in my page. So I need to go back to that page, and that's page 200. And I need to click here. So my page, this is my button. Maybe I will slot it. Let me put it here. So it's under this slot. Now, when I click on this button, it is supposed to go to page 300. So I will just click. And the page should be go to page. And choose the page 300. So I save. I'm going to do all this all over again for those who are unable to do all this. So just don't worry about it. So let me preview this. This is my first page. So I have the video, then I have the next page option. So when I click on the next page, it goes here. Now you will not be able to hear the text to speech option. If image, I have not changed the image because you can always double click and change the image. So only the image frame is shown here. But when I want to see when I want to hear the text to speech, like I can always include the text to speech when I compile, when I build the app, and then once I get the compiled version, then it's easy for me to. It uses the features from that build. So the actual effect is only felt when you build it. For the time being, you just hear it. You just assume that you're hearing the robot talking. So that's basically task 1, which is completed. So if you have completed this, you can play around with the frames, the panels. So like, for example, this panel is quite big. Maybe I can play around with this panel size. Same goes with label. So if you notice, my label is 100%. I can change. I can just play around a few things, like make it 50 pixels by height. So now you see the size of the panel has changed. Same goes with this. You have an option to drag it up, and if you notice, this might be based on the properties of this particular the button. Just have to, maybe I will change this, the position of this. So I'll just make it a block. So this is another property. So I'm going to repeat this again for those who have not been able to follow it. What we have done is we have just created 3 pages. So the first page is a page that displays the splash screen, displays for 3 seconds, and then goes to the second page, which is the About Us page, which is what you're looking at. And then we are also looking at the third page, which is a page that has also got a new functionality where there's all the text that's being typed on the page is actually displayed as audio. So using the text to speech function. And like what I said, the value of this function is only realized once you build the app, because right now it's still in the preview mode. So you need to build the app to see the actual value of the function. But if you want to see how this app behaves on your device, whether it's an iPhone or an iPad or Android, you just can preview the app by clicking on the QR code, and you can actually use the QR code, and you can preview the app in your device as you see it.
Sure.
Yeah.
When I scan it, the size and the layout is quite different to my phone, sir. It's not supported. It's like so small.
Okay, so you'll need to, so basically that's why you need to play around with the properties. So, you know, like if you notice, okay, first and foremost, this app is still not compiled, right? So what type of phone do you use?
This Samsung.
Okay, so you have the option, like when you design your screens, right? You have an option to change the orientation. See, like for example, in this screen, my default size is this. So I can change accordingly, like how I want my screen to be. This is for an iPad. So according to that, you can change the properties of your relevant components. So if your screen doesn't show the way you see it, right, then you have an option to change according to the size or the is your screen quite big or is it different from the normal?
It's a normal smartphone.
It's a normal one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Maybe when we are done, right? I'll get RS to fix it for you. Like basically give you the right properties to fix it for you. It's just a matter of just playing around a little with the properties. Yeah. Aris, can you just check what's
Yes, sir. Sure.
yeah. Aris, just check with what's your name? Sorry.
Kugan.
Yeah. Can you just type there so that Aris can follow? He'll be able to fix it for you. Yeah, I'm very bad with aesthetics. Let me tell you that. So I don't have the patience to sit and like put it in place. But just to let you know, like if you're not using, if you're quite happy with the existing default values, you can just play around with it, because end of the day you'll be having some some interesting apps with not much of effort being put on UI UX. Like it's automatically there. But if you want to further it and enhance it further and stuff like that, I mean, if you change any of these properties, it can affect. So you need to revamp the whole thing. You know what I mean? A little bit of time. Usually, a lot of time goes with the design of the UI in general. The app time, development time is much faster. The UI is where the time goes. So just play around a little with it. Get help from RS. He'll be able to help you out. Yeah. So I'll just change back to the normal screen. Yeah. So if you go back to our slides, we've actually reached slide 50, but we also have other things like which I would probably share it with you along the course of the e-learning links. I had also provided the e-learning link where you can sign up and you can actually see how things are done, right? So if I hope you get some time to actually register for the e-learning. So the e-learning has got a few more things. It shows you similar examples with different applications. So you will get a better picture. But more said and done, if you go through the normal training, right? The three sessions, what I was talking about, the 3 levels, like this is the introductory level. Then you have the basic and the professional level. So when you go through this, you'll have more understanding, because see, right now I'm just showing it to you once and you're doing it once and then you're happy. Then when you try it another time, you might find yourself into a bit of a hassle. So you need to try three or four more times to get used to the whole list of things. But once you're able to do that, right, like it's only a matter of don't spend too much of time on the UI initially, because that can bog you down. Like you can spend a lot of time on the UI. But when you talk about the functionality of the app, you can actually add more functions. See, what I've just shown you is only the tip of the iceberg. Like basically, whatever we have seen now is maybe about 10% or maybe even less than 10% of all the different capabilities, like the functions. But when you go through the formal training, which I encourage all of you to do, that will give you, and please remember, all this is just needing your time. There's no charges. It's all just needing your time and like your availability. So, of course, we will be discussing with your university. And of course, we'll try to schedule something for you. So try to register for these. Make the most out of it. Like you can actually really get into a lot of serious, sophisticated app building with this platform. So I want you to go through the PowerPoint slides. You'll see there are step-by-step guidelines. Okay, like if you notice, it will teach you how to do things step by step. Even if you do it once, you'll get a better idea of more things that can be done. You know, like all this we have done. Whatever you see here, we have touched base. With one example I have shown you, we have touched base with a few things. So when you do it again, you'll see like, wow, this is familiar. Okay, this looks similar. Now this is how generally things are learned. You need to repeat it time and again. So just let me know if you need any clarifications on the 3 pages that we created. If you can successfully do it. Was there any difficulty in doing those 3 pages?
Yes, I'm still confused on how to do the timeout part actually. I get the other basics, just that adding the timeout and transferring to the other pages, I'm still a bit confused on that.
Okay, so let me do it again for you. I'm just going to create a page again. So I have page, let's call it 1000. I have a free page here. Now I want the first screen to be taken from a splash screen. So I'll just use any splash screen. Either I can use an existing one from field sales or self-ordering, whichever. So let me just choose this. So this is my first screen. So on my first screen, the template is already there. It's got a logo, it's got an image, it's got a label, and it's got another label. But if you look at this page, right, you'll see that all this is placed inside different panels. So right now you'll see there's a panel holder, then there's a main panel, then there is a cell panel. If you notice, all the entire thing goes under one main cell. There's only one cell, which is under main. You'll see a logo, you'll see a caption, and you'll see an image. Okay, you know how to change the image and the caption. I'm not going to go into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load this page. So remember, the event on a page has to be done only by clicking on the page. It can't be done by clicking on a logo or anything like that. So you have to go back to the main page, so which means you have to click on the page 1000. So that is now relevant to all the items inside the page. Now you can actually click on event flow, which means that anything that's related is now on the page. The event is on the page. So this is the page, and you are supposed to trigger this event with when the event is a load, right? So the trigger event is the load. So whenever the page loads, like how whenever you click on a button, do what? So whenever you click on a page, whenever you load a page, this page, you're going to display this page. This page is loaded. So to display this page, you have something called a set timeout. This function, I just put it inside. So set timeout is a function. Now, like go to page set timeout is another function. There are hundreds and hundreds of functions in eMOBIQ, which you will learn as you start building more apps. For the time being, we just use go to page and set timeout. So set timeout has got, go to page has got a parameter where you just display the name of the page. But for set timeout, it's got a different set of parameters. Like it's got timeout option. So here you need to give the timeout. So in this case, I'm just giving 3,000, which is 3,000 milliseconds. So which means after this page loads, it will pause for the 3,000 milliseconds. And after that, what happens? You need to tell it what happens, right? It's just going to pause. So what happens after that? So you need to go to another page. So here you choose go to page. And you choose the go to page after the timeout function is returned, the value is returned. So set timeout is yes. So you have a go to page after the set timeout is returned with a true, and the name of the page. So the name of the page after pausing for 3 seconds, which page is it going to go to? So in this case, let's just go to, I don't have a 2000 page, so I'm just saying page 200. This is the page it's going to go to. So now I should make sure that this is the page that comes first, right? Please remember, always when you preview, the home page is the one which comes up first. So in this case, I have to change the home page to page 2000 or page 1000. So I go to global attributes. I just change the home page to page 1000. And then I go back to page design and preview. So my first page is displayed for 3 seconds. And then it goes to the second page, which is about us. You get my point?
So far I did, but for some reason I had a bit of trouble on the set timeout. It didn't want to add earlier. Now I did.
Okay.
I'm just trying to put the if else function, like how to separate the timeout. Like if yes, then go here, and then if no, go there.
Oh, okay. So you are trying to add more functions straight away, right?
Yeah, just the simple like either end or go to the or go to the time go to the other pages.
Okay, so how do you decide where do you want to go? See, I understand you're trying to include a logic, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
Like a if condition or something, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be very clear on what function, I mean, what is the condition? What condition are you trying to match? Because timeout is like, it returns what? It returns a value. So after 3 seconds, it returns a value. So what value does it return? So if it is a yes, that means the callback. Callback meaning what happens next. If it is an error, okay? If there is an error, like the what do you call the set timeout function for some reason doesn't happen, your clock on your computer just stops. So
Yeah.
it doesn't count 3000 seconds, right? It returns an error. So that's the false part, right? So you can probably display a dialog box saying like, sorry, your function didn't work or something like that. If the timeout function is true, that is it's a callback, meaning it returns a true, then it goes to page 200. Otherwise, it's an error. So you display an info dialog box. So how do you display an info dialog box? You know what's an info dialog box, right? A pop-up screen which shows. So maybe okay. So here, just to let you know, you can add more functions. What you're looking at is just a basic function, right? You can add more functions, like, you know, see, right now you're looking at value, right? The timeout is a value, right? I can add more functions. So which means I can add additional functions, like I can click a function. So inside that function, I can display whether this is true, whether this is false. You know what I'm trying to say? So the logic becomes more complicated. Like it starts building up into a very complicated, I mean, a sophisticated logic, like where you can check for different conditions. Your questions, this particular question can be answered, you know, when you go through the first round of training, where we deal with all these kind of things. Like we add functions. Right now, we're not adding any functions. See, like here, if you notice, I straight away just add a value, right? In this parameter, I can add so many things. I can basically add, you know, like what I just said, a function. So this function, I can create, so it becomes a sub function. So it becomes like a subroutine, or, you know, when you call a function, you call another sub function. So I can actually build up on this function. So when you see a lot of applications, you'll see that there's a function inside a function inside a function. It can go on, like, for example, I want to repair my computer laptop, for example. So I call a function. The function is help desk. So from the help desk, again the help desk passes calls another function, maybe the technical engineer, you know. The technical engineer, again, maybe passes whatever you have passed as value to another, maybe another assistant, or somebody who probably is an expert in keyboard or something. So you see what is happening is, a function call can go into many more function calls. You know, like it can become a very routine, a subroutine, a subroutine, a subroutine. It can go on. So it depends on what is your logic? What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to build? You know, so it gets interesting. Let me give you this piece of interesting news. It gets very interesting when you start building on this. So what we just saw is like very, very basic stuff, because of lack of time, because 3 hours is definitely not enough for you to get used to the platform and start building some complex applications. But what I would recommend is try to work around the portfolio app. You know, it's there in the presentation slide. Try to build on that portfolio app, and you'll see there's a few things, like, you know, I didn't show you language settings. There are many more. Like, before we go, like, I know I don't want to hold up your time. Today is a public holiday. I know I've already taken up much of your time, but just give me the last 2 minutes. Whatever we have done with, we are one step ahead, you know, like we are one step ahead of the game. Whatever we have done is not really use a lot of wizards. So I'm just going to sum up this whole thing. You know, we just use the page wizard. I would like to show you something called a function wizard. So the function wizard is generally this magic wand. So in this function wizard, you have a lot of things, like the same thing, like what we did now. With, let's say, was it page 2, or there was a button, right? Yeah. Okay. So let's say with this one of the pages that I created, right? I'm going to use a function wizard to go to the next page. So you just see how simple it gets with a function wizard. So this is my function wizard next to my page wizard. I click on this. I already clicked on the button. I clicked on the event. So that's a click. Then you have to just answer the questions. So what is the action you want? Do you want to log in? Do you want to calculate data? You want to retrieve data? Or you want to use a basic function? So go to page is a very basic function. So basic function. And I can do a lot of these basic functions. Like I can do barcode and QR code scanning. I can capture an image in case I'm using camera. I can use, like I'm telling you about native device. I can use Google Maps to point to a location. Then I can also go to page. So this is what we have been using. So I can go to a page. So I'm just using go to page. And I click next. And I can just choose the page. So it's very simple. So instead of using the visual logic flow, which is more advanced, we can use the function wizard. But you see, the thing is, when you use wizards, it's already there. If you want to enhance it further, like what question you asked me, you need to go into that logical flow, visual logic flow, to build on your functions. When I click next, after I've done everything, there's no more functions to add. I can just click finish. So now, if I go back to my visual logic, this is my visual logic created by the wizard. If you notice, I already created one here. The wizard has created one more. You understand what I'm saying? I'll just do something else for you. Like maybe I'll just delete very quickly. I'll just delete this. So okay, I'll just save this. My last piece. So I don't want to hold you back. Okay, I want to probably just, you know, like let's do something interesting, like, you know, maybe I want to use a wizard. So the function wizard, not the page wizard. So when I click on this button, I probably want to use a basic function. And I want to maybe, okay, just capture an image and display an image on an image component. So in this case, the image is image 1, what is already there. That is the image which. So I've already done something where, let's say, I can click on this, and when I click on this, it actually takes a picture. This is done on the mobile phone, so you have to actually use the preview, scan this, and then when you click on this button, you can actually create an option for the camera to automatically get triggered, and you can take a picture. So basically, all these functions can be done with existing function wizard, or you can add your own functions with visual logic flow. So I do hope, like I'm sorry I exceeded 1 minute of your time. I do hope that this training can open up something for you, although it might not have achieved like your expertise, but it does definitely have, you know, given you an understanding of how simple it gets to develop, you know, mobile apps. Now you can always, since you have an account, you can always have the option to build apps, but please make sure that when you want to build, after you finish the whole app, don't build it in between, because it takes a lot of time and space to build. Like it takes about 5 to 10 minutes to build the app. So complete a full-fledged app and then build it. Otherwise, just run it on this, what I just showed you. So that's an option. And feel free to keep asking me questions. You have my email address, and I'll be more than happy if all of you could join the No Code community page on Facebook, because this is where you can do a lot of interaction with other global eMOBIQ developers, like people who are using eMOBIQ. It'll be a good exchange for you. I mean, that's one way of interacting with the community. I've shared this all in my email if you have not seen it. So do let me know if you have any questions for now. Are there any questions? I know this one whole thing was very short and it was very compact, but this is what we expected. We just wanted you to open up and see, oh, okay, this can be possible. These are the things that can be built with no coding at all.
Sir,
Yeah.
can this be used for like, could we build other applications with this, like food applications per se?
Yeah. Any commercial, any B2B business applications can be built. But if you're talking about building a game, I wouldn't recommend this, because this is more towards B2B enterprise graded applications.
So can
Like,
do
so if
food
you're
as well.
talking, yeah, if you're talking about, let's say, building, like a food ordering system or a self-ordering, yeah, you can build it with this if possible, because we have done one. We have an application that runs where you can order food online. So those things, those things plus, things like fleet management, like something like Uber, Grab, those online ordering systems. All that can be done here. What you need to take care of is with a backend, like what is going to be your backend? How is your backend data going to be handled? So that is one part. I didn't have the opportunity to show you the backend integration part because of lack of time, but I'll be more than happy to share this. And in the videos, in the e-learning videos, you do have all this explained.
Sir?
Yeah.
Where the slides would be available?
This today's slides?
Yes, the presentation slides.
Okay, I had shared this in the beginning of the presentation. Let me just check whether I have it. Will somebody be able to share it with him? It was shared in the very beginning. I shared.
Yeah, I was late for like 7 minutes, I guess.
Oh, okay. Just give me a second. Let me find. If not, I will. Give me your thing. My screen just disappears. Aris, can you share it with him, please?
He has sent.
Okay,
the
awesome.
link. Okay.
Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
Please, after the session, would you be sharing the video for the recording?
Oh yeah, I'll be sharing this session, today's recorded session. I'll be sending it out as a video.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send you the link. I don't think the file, the size of the video will be in an attachment. It'll be a link. I'll share it. No issues. Any other questions you have?
Sir?
Yeah.
Have you heard of Ionic platform?
Yes.
So how this framework is different than Ionic? Like, what are the unique characteristics of it?
A very good question. Okay. So basically, have you worked on Ionic?
No, I just only knew some things.
Okay.
Very basic.
So basically they have they also use Ionic also uses Cordova framework, just like eMOBIQ. It does use some level of low code.
Okay.
So with eMOBIQ, there's absolutely no hard written code. Then in terms of what you call it, like what I was just telling you, one difference which is going to be totally different in terms of eMOBIQ and Ionic framework is eMOBIQ will be having its own framework, which will be having allowing you to build React Native kind of apps with no code. So that's something which is going to be. I wouldn't say that there are no platforms available. There are many platforms. eMOBIQ has got very good ratings with Gartner for 2 years, like 2016 and 2017. We have been rated as a very promising rapid mobile application development platform. But ever since then, like there are many other platforms that has come up. So Ionic has been in the space for quite some time. But like what I said, like when it comes to ease of use and flexibility, I think comparatively we have a few more options.
Okay, I see. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? No more?
Sir,
Yeah.
how about let's say we want to build an application, but we look at another source that doesn't use the eMOBIQ to build an application, but can we also do like that as well?
Okay. You're talking about building an application elsewhere and then bringing it to eMOBIQ, is it?
Like there's one website. There was one video that talks about building an app without coding, but it's not eMOBIQ, it's something else. Could that also be used for, could that similar method be used for eMOBIQ as well?
Yeah, see, when you're talking about the number of low-code and no-code platforms that's in the market, right? There has been like a rampant growth. Like there's many types of what do you call platforms which are available. So I wouldn't say that, you know, no code, it's only eMOBIQ, you know. But what is different between like a platform like eMOBIQ? eMOBIQ is not new. It's been there for I think since 2015. We have bought this product. I mean, Aris. I remember you know, having a chat with Aris. He was telling me that these guys used to spend like a few nights, you know, like a few nights sitting on a staircase, and you know, like he used to smoke cigarettes and build this particular platform. It's been there for quite some time, but there are a lot of platforms like what you just highlighted. There are a lot of platforms where you can either be slotted in as a hybrid or with low code, or it can be a progressive web application, because you know there are places where you can build your apps as a progressive web application. It might not fit well into a mobile application, but it can be a progressive web application. So it depends, like, and that doesn't require coding as well. Like you can have apps which doesn't require much coding or no coding at all. So it all depends, like which one do you prefer to use. So, but the idea is not about using eMOBIQ or, you know, XYZ product. It's about increasing the speed of development. So if you decide that, okay, this is the way development speed has to increase, you have to use such tools, because that's where the industries are all going towards. So to answer your question, there's no single platform that is recommended as the best. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we work with Microsoft, for example. Microsoft came out with their own platform called Power Platform, Power Apps. So if you look at one single difference is Power Apps works only in a Microsoft environment, whereas eMOBIQ can work across all environments. Like it doesn't need to be only Microsoft related. It can be any vendor independent. So there are many disadvantages and advantages. When I talk about eMOBIQ, I'll only be talking about the advantages more than the disadvantages. Disadvantages I already highlighted, that when it comes to security, for example, we might have issues if you compare eMOBIQ to a native mode of development. Security is definitely for, let's say, a bank. So if you're going to create a banking application using this, banks will first look at whether it has passed a few tests like PAN test and, you know, those different software compliance tests. So eMOBIQ, since it's got all some open source features. Open source is like, you know, it's developed from different sources, right? Like you just include all those modules into the thing and make a product out of it. So it might not, all those things might not pass the test, like security tests. So eMOBIQ might not be the preferred platform, or any such coding, such no code or low code platforms might not be the preferred platforms when you go for such security related areas. But if you're talking about building a food service or a, food ordering and all those basic commercial apps. Yeah, they really they don't bother about security. Then this is a preferred way, because here, like Ionic framework, somebody was talking about Ionic framework. Subscription for companies would be costlier. With eMOBIQ, it's pretty. I mean, if a company were to get the license, it's only like $250 US dollars per month for a company to subscribe to the platform, and you can have as many users. Like, we don't go by the users. So these are some of the advantages, like in terms of pricing, and like eventually when somebody decides like, okay, this should be the way, eMOBIQ or not eMOBIQ. So these are some of the advantages.
So
yeah,
I think there might be a video about making an application without a code. There's video, but I don't think but they use a different application. That's why I ask.
Yeah. There are many applications. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, you have a lot of products out there who allow you to create apps with no coding. But you see, the thing is, whether the platform is focusing on cross-platform mobile apps development, or whether the platform is focusing on just a progressive web app. See, when you say progressive web app, or it can even be something relevant to, see, when you talk about progressive web apps, right? The app that is shown on the browser screen, which is meant for the web, right? It can also be seen on a phone. But with eMOBIQ, you're focusing not on the screen, you're focusing on the app, like on the mobile device. So there are a lot of other platforms which might give you the same no-code option, but it depends on where it's being done. That can be different. So there are many products like that. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's possible to develop. I wouldn't say it's not possible.
Because I plan to develop something using I plan to develop a similar app, and I plan to use that video as a source of inspiration for me.
Okay.
But it's a different one, huh?
Yeah, I know. so like, it depends. Like, we don't see, there are many companies that go, like, they call it fly by night. You have to be a bit careful of that also. Like, when you start developing, use a particular technology, and if the technology doesn't sustain, the company tomorrow just folds or is acquired, for example, then what happens? Like, are you able to still use it and stuff like that? So you have to be a bit careful. Like, in case you're subscribing to it, like you pay for it and start using it, you have to be careful. Any other questions from me? Those who are done, like, like, please feel free to leave, because I think we are more or less done. But if you have any other questions, I'm here. You can still keep asking me questions. Any other questions?
So, sir.
Yeah.
So using this no-code platforms, no one really needs any prerequisite, or any backgrounds or any. I would say, like, obviously, some people may use these and they don't even have, like a CS background or an IT background. What do you think of that?
Yeah. Okay. So if you notice, right, I'm a developer, but the development that I did was like 15 years back. So I'm as good as a non-developer now. If you ask me, I'm more of a non-developer. But I can still develop commercial applications. Let's say, for example, I use this. I can change the life of a company's employees who are on the mobile side. Like, the field service people, people who are going to service companies, the field service engineers. So I can still write, I mean, I can still use this kind of a platform and develop an application and sell it to the company to, I mean, if I'm an entrepreneur, if let's say I'm an entrepreneur, I don't need to be a programmer. I don't need to be a full-fledged IT developer, but I can still develop commercial apps that can be useful, that can change the way businesses, the processes are done in companies. So, and end of the day, I have an opportunity to be in the IT space. So you don't need to be somebody who has prior, background. So, but if you're talking about, in this case, in this context, CSS experience, CSS and stuff like that, I would say maybe another 15 days if you just go through a crash course on HTML and CSS, you'll have a general idea of how things are done. Then it's only a matter of just trial and error, and it works. But you need to get a fair understanding of CSS, JavaScript, and so that's for the UI part. But for the functionality part, you don't need a knowledge of a programming language as such. You can still build these applications.
Yeah, I understand. Okay. Yeah, that's my question.
Any other questions? What I would suggest is, if you do have questions, feel free to send me an email. I'll also share RS's email. He is a better person to deal with technical, more technical things, because he's on the ball. Like it comes to scenarios where he is constantly in touch with development, serious development. Whereas I don't do serious development. I just use this more for my pre-sales and training, like such areas. So feel free to email me. I'll be more than happy to send like answer all your questions. And like as I said, be ready for the training that's coming up once we have got the schedules fixed. So that will give you a better option of having, it will give you a better option of using eMOBIQ. That's my idea. All right. So thank you once again. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah, and I hope it was some sort of an eye opener, some sort of exposure.
It is actually.
Yeah.
It is quite. I kind of want to try it out just to find out how much I can do with this no code editing, because as I say, if you find a lazy way to do it, then just do it.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, let's say, for example, somebody, while you walk out and somebody says like, hey, I have a company which has got like, they need a mobile app, for example. And do you know anybody who can develop a mobile app? So if you can do it, like, hey, I can do that for you, like, and maybe charge you like $10,000 or 10,000 ringgits or whatever. No, I mean, it's giving you a new exposure. So that's the idea.
Well, hopefully we can. Hopefully the video, the recorded video, will be uploaded, so we can review how to do like this basic, just this first basic no coding application.
Yeah. See, my recommendation is don't just rely only on this, because what we've done today is very, very little.
Yeah.
You should actually, like, I've given you the link for signing up for the e-learning, right? So when you get an opportunity, just go through the e-learning link. I know you need to spend a little bit of time to go through the different videos, but if you're really interested, do go take a look at it, and then try it out with your account. Try it out. So if you get into areas where you get stuck, feel free to check with us. We'll be more than happy to help.
All right.
Yeah. So thank you once again. Have a Yeah, have a
Okay,
great evening.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay,
you so
yeah.
much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.